Lane stealers only bring frustration to a team. The team will be at a disadvantage and players will not enjoy the match. We are also players, and we know the problem doesn't lie with the good players. Therefore, based on feedback, we created the lane pre-pick system. Players will choose the lanes they want to play before looking for a match. The system will take these preferences into account and find suitable matches so that everyone can enjoy the game. To combat lane stealers, everyone has a chance to create a better gaming environment by reporting them and making the Gorge a better place. With this system, finding a balanced team is no longer a problem, but a practice in innovation.
Honor of Kings is the world's most played mobile MOBA, featuring intense and fair team-based battles, high-end graphics, a deep roster of diverse heroes, and a variety of gameplay modes, all combining to offer players an innovative mobile gaming experience.
One of our main goals is to develop Honor of Kings for a global audience. To achieve this, we continue to add localized content to the game, such as collaborating with popular franchises to bring new regionally inspired heroes, skins, in-game events, and more to our worldwide community.
While we are members of the development team, we are also gamers, meaning we want games that foster fair, competitive environment and reward players based on their skill. This is also our North Star when it comes to developing Honor of Kings, ensuring that the game's mechanics, heroes, equipment, and more are well balanced. The game has been designed from the ground up with a mindset that all elements that affect gameplay can be earned through effort and time spent, such as hero unlock and the Kena system. This core tenet ensures that Honor of Kings remains fair, competitive, and most of all, fun.
In addition to accessibility, we believe that a good PvP game needs to maintain friendly and fair matchmaking for players of all skill levels. This is why our team focuses on both game balance and matchmaking optimization. In fact, we review the community's gameplay data every 2 weeks to help us determine how best to balance the hero roster's skills and stats. It's like adjusting a precision clock to make sure everyone experiences the competitive fun of each match.
Maintaining a safe, competitive environment makes for a healthier Honor of Kings community, where players can meet friendly teammates and respectful opponents in every session. Our team is passionate about ensuring that players can cooperate effectively in each battle. With a feature like map lane pre-selection, a reward system for positive play, the ability to report bad actor mid-match, and an easy-to-use Conwheel interface, all designed to foster safe, cooperative matches based on good sportsmanship.
We also want Honor of Kings to be a platform where players from all over the world can realize their dreams of high-level competitive gameplay. Alliances, leaderboards, and other social features allow our challengers to meet like-minded friends and show off their skills. Meanwhile, our partner program and its incentives allow content creators to stand out and become rising stars in Honor of Kings. The esports ecosystem provides a global stage for all professional esports players to compete. These systems combine to form the game's ecosystem, building a stage for players from all over the world to shine. This is what Honor of Kings means to us.
We look forward to meeting you in Heroes Jord
as we come together as one strong, competitive, and awesome community.
Welcome to Honor of Kings.
You want to be strong? Learn from the pro now. When you choose a long-range marksman to take down enemies in the distance, only to find the enemies constantly staying at the edge of your attack range. When you enthusiastically pick a high-burst mage, planning to crush the opponents, but the enemies keep sneaking outside your vision. The professional players have long been using the small trick their settings for smooth operations. Let's take a look at how the pros set up their game. Change the setting from fixed camera to camera shifts with skill direction. Your vision will move with the direction of your skills, allowing for a broader vision range. This not only enables more accurate targeting, but also gives you the upper hand to anticipate incoming enemies in advance. Come and try this practical secret that professional players are using. Play like a pro to dominate your enemy team effortlessly. Learn from the pro. Learn more. Honor of King's Global Esports.
云宗主，为何激怒蛇人？
我受聘护你此行安全，可我身为加玛帝国的斗皇，绝不允许蛇人拥有斗宗。
我谋划半年，想要靠异火提升术，可惜道途难以畅通。
女王要吞噬异火禁术，绝不会离开此地。我们就赶在她吞噬之前夺走异火。
好办法，待我赶出异火，找到女王藏身之处。
不好，他在点燃召唤力，停下来！糟糕，八大首领得到消息了。古河，异火在哪儿？我们拿到后立刻离开。
这里距离异火太远，我无法感知。
那好，我们杀下去。
Day number 3. Welcome to Honor of Kings Invitational 2024 Season 2.
I think that the Vitality match is going to be the toughest because they are probably the strongest team on the group, but today we are going to see some targeted strategies focusing on them.
Vu qu'on a vu VKS jouer au tournament à la S1, on peut regarder leur gameplay et établir une stratégie.
Eu acho que o melhor jogador da Vitality é o Shanks, porque, bom, ele é o principal carry do time e ele basicamente escolhe a lane que vai jogar, o pick que quer jogar, então acredito que ele seja o melhor jogador, mas a gente vai ter uma boa resposta contra ele e acredito que ele não vai ter um bom desempenho contra o nosso time.
感觉 VKS 只是单你一个人拿野和白 C， 只要把他野和打烂，他们就没什么问题。我感觉赢他们挺简单的。
A importância de ficar em primeiro é mais dar esse medo para os outros times nos playoffs e a gente quer sim ser campeão para defender o nosso título. A gente foi campeão do primeiro, então a gente está aí para defender.
Contre Dani, Dani, je t'attends.
Acho que a equipe que poderia ser mais difícil de enfrentar seria a G, pelo fato de eles serem de Hong Kong, talvez, e eles consigam jogar no servidor chinês, eles também já têm jogadores que são bastante experientes, acho que seria a equipe mais forte assim, a se enfrentar do grupo.
他们的能力我们非常认可，很厉害，但是我们不畏惧挑战。
以现在的阶段，其实我们没有十足的把握说是战胜的，但是我觉得大家都是职业选手，就是不要那个眼光那么短浅，就是泛滥一个 S2就在他们就到时候我们1W4。
我们在3边等着他们所有人的挑战。
古河给魅力过，这正好。
也对啊。Expected namin magtatapon kami sa group pero
for the last game, we will give our best to get our last game. 从小组抽签到比赛也有一段时间，然后我们也不断的努力去做调整，然后进步，但还是没打过，然后比赛电子竞技不就是这么残忍？
这下就上了。
极谈伤我族人，如我女王。
蛇族桃花术能力瞬间达到斗王巅峰，斗王巅峰。
这
but right now, Danny going in. Well, opened by Fang. Fang doing the open. Time damage from Danny as well, taking up Winchi as well. Diab is looking.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the final day of the group stages of the Honor of Kings Season 2 Invitational. My name is Blam, and with me, I am joined by Horror today. How's it going?
Good. I'm super excited. It's the first time casting with you, Blam. I'm super excited about that as well as these 3 matches. There's going to be a lot of good games because we got to figure out who's going to be the top seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, like we said in the pre-game production, was like there's really not much here in terms of what can change within today's standing, because again, some of these teams have gone 2-0 all the way through. Some of them not quite had as an easy a start as some of the other teams, and then obviously we've got some teams that just may not even get there. So again, 3 games, but it's going to be super duper cool, and I cannot wait to cast them, obviously, with Team Vitality as well. But before we get into that, this is what Season 2 is all running up to, is the EWC MSI. So one of our sponsors today is the Esports World Cup. So we are thrilled to be the partnership with the Esports World Cup for Season of Honor of Kings Invitational. The top 8 teams will go through to this tournament, and most of them have already been picked anyway. So this is going to be the next point of call as well, and it wouldn't be anything without our second sponsor, Infinix.
Yeah, and this is going to be Infinix. Experience esports level gaming with the Infinix GT20 Pro, like all the professional players here at the HOK Season 2 Invitationals. If you'd like to find out more, you can check out the Infinix official website. Check out those phones. They're quite good, and all the players on stage are playing with it, and you know that they're doing some pretty sick plays with it. So definitely check them out, and you'll really like the phone.
I mean, we've had very little technical issues with these phones, so I mean, that even sings more praise to the Infinix GT20 Pro as well. So again, shout out to Infinix for supporting and sponsoring this Season 2 Invitational. But a little bit back onto the teams that obviously are playing today. We've got some of the, what would be considered more of the Western teams playing today, I would say. Within that hemisphere, we have obviously the likes of Team Vitality and VKS, the top seed of Brazil, going first, which again, I think starting today on that match is a huge place to be starting with, because both of these teams have had a really strong start to Season 2 Invitational.
Definitely. And, you know, I mean, what better way than to make sure that you make it to the knockout stage, of course, guaranteeing your spot into the EWC. But this one is more than just bragging rights, because, of course, the top seed is going to be super important going into the knockout stage, because it's one of those things where if you're a 1 seed in the group, you don't have to face the other 1 seeds in the other groups. And there are some killers like LGD and Secret, and you don't want to be facing them, especially early. Give yourself the best chance possible by making sure that you do get that top seed.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can't make it all the way to the finals, obviously, if these teams can get to the semifinals and survive the quarterfinals, it means a bigger payout for, obviously, the teams. It's a bigger prestige for the teams. But nonetheless, all these teams that are going into the quarterfinals of the Season 2 Invitational will be going and making their way to EWC. But it's going to be really cool to see All Gamers Global, because, again, we haven't seen them since day 1. So I want to see what they've learned watching all these amazing teams play for the past 3 days. But here are the standings for Group A and Group B. So Team Vitality, EU represent, is at the top with the game-winning difference of 4. And then Vivo Keystars at 3, Boom at 4th, and then Foot Esports at 4th. And then over to the side of Group B, we have Loops at 2. All Gamers Global, like I just said, haven't played since day 1, are at the 2nd position, losing 1 round to R8 Esports. And then 3rd is R8 Esports.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the other side in terms of the other two groups, Group C, Team Secret came out firing. They were 2-0. They're going to be the tops of this. Kagendra had a great matchup against Osiris. They are going to be in second place. Kagendra do make it in, and so they're guaranteed that second slot. Group D, on the other hand, they had LGD. Again, another just dominating performance by them, where they had the shortest game in like 7 minutes and like 40 seconds. They came out on top, but Impunity Sports fought back. They ensured that they got the win. They had some unconventional drafts in yesterday's day 3, and they ended up beating RRQ, so they guarantee their spot into the knockout stage.
Yep, I'm still trying to recover from that loss for RRQ there, Hauler. It was definitely a sore spot for me to be witnessing whilst I'm on my 9 to 5 and then seeing RRQ lose. I was like, come on, no. That just completely decimated my day yesterday, but less about yesterday, more about today. So we've already been alluding to the first game of the day, Vivo Keystars against Team Vitality. Team EU against the Brazilian tried and tested Seed 1 is going to be super interesting. I expect nothing less than a full best of 3 between these two teams. I'll be very surprised if we get a quick 2-0. And then second game, Loops again having a promising start to the tournament. All Gamers Global, not the strongest start we've seen, but we get to see them again. And then boom, against Foot Esports for the third place of the Group A. But here are Vivo Keystars lineup. We do have VKS Niap, we have Danny in the jungle, One in the mid lane, Caesar in the farm lane, and then Maynard in the support role. This has been a tried and tested roster. Danny has said this is the best roster they've had since VKS, so it really shows you the gravity of this team. But their opponents are going to be...
Yeah, but let's talk about the others team. It's going to be Team Vitality. We're going to see Nighty, Shanks, Highland, City Boy, and of course Benji. This is a team that is actually quite strong, and then we've seen some tremendous growth throughout the league itself. But going up against the #1 squad from Brazil, Vivo Keystars, how are they going to fare? We're going to have to find out in this first match of the day.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, like I've already said, no shortfalling of a banger of a matchup between these two teams. Because as you said there, Hauler, that obviously Brazil's VKS are their top seed. This Team Vitality roster has seemed like a massively strong roster as well. So both games that Team Vitality have played have finished in 2-0. So I think that's the gravity that people, those watching at home, need to realize that, hey, this is not a team to mess around with, and VKS probably know that. But like we were saying in the introduction, this is all about trying to get that first seed, because if you are able to secure the first seed, you aren't going to be meeting either Team Secret, LGD Gaming, or whoever becomes the first seed of Group B after today. And again, you don't want to be dropping that quarterfinals match to see you. That's where your journey ends in Season 2. But we are now onto the picks and bans of Game 1.
Yeah, we're going to start this one off. And of course, there's a lot, I would say, almost a bit of sense of relief. Obviously, that seed #1 is going to be super important going into the playoffs. But it's one of those things where, hey, I still made top 8. I'm going to be having a shot at the EWC. They're having the opportunity to even go to the big stage, the big tournament, the big dance, whatever you want to call it, is going to be super important for them. So what they want to do, obviously they want to show up. They want to get that 1 seed. But at the same time, I think this is not the do or die, you know, where you're back to the wall, where you might get eliminated. You're not going to get to that level. But we're going to go into the draft, of course. This is, of course, Game 1. The Dahlia pick is going to be first pick from them for VKS. Team Vitality, counter with the Byron and Pay. Any thoughts on that one, Lance?
So it's really interesting to see Team Vitality actually not picking a tank in the jungle. So Pei coming through as the jungler here is really exciting to see, because again, we haven't normally seen City Boy on the likes of these big jungle picks, because he's always been Kaiser, and throughout the entire of the tournament, it's pretty much just Kaiser central for the side of Team Vitality. And it's nice to see that again paired with the Byron. This is something we've seen other teams play. So if you've managed to survive the initial engage of the Pei, you've got Byron that's going to come around swinging that huge malice to take you down and do massive amounts of damage, especially with the disengage and re-engage potential of the Byron pick. But again, we are seeing that those bans are definitely aimed at the teams. These are not just random high ban rate heroes that we're seeing against VKS and Team Vitality, because the Kaiser, again, one of the big picks for Team Vitality. Not so much Princess Frost. Again, obviously, Utility Mage is the way to go in that mid lane. And as you can see, VKS has picked the poor man's Princess Frost, which is the Lady Chen. But I do have to say a little quick stat on that Lady Chen. She has 85% appearance rate, but with the top win rate with such a hero that's been picked for that amount. So again, huge appearance, not in the bans but mainly in the picks, and she has a 73% win rate. So this is one of the highly contested heroes between all the teams in Season 2 Invitational.
Yeah, Lady John, just having so much flexibility. You have that magic damage, you have that control, you have CC. I mean, it has everything but the kitchen sink, right? It's definitely a great hero to pick up, and that's why teams are kind of prioritizing that. But they've also picked the Elaine up, and the Elaine has had, what I would say, 50-50 in terms of like success rate. It hasn't been amazing. I think they had like the win rate is about 43%, but it is the number 5 pick in terms of this league of Season 2 Invitationals. So it's definitely a contested one. Now, if we're looking more to the other side, the Mo's and of course the Byron Pei, these kind of have been kind of meta, but the Huangjong, not really as much. We haven't seen too much of it throughout this tournament thus far.
Huangjong, absolutely. Yeah, this was a Season 1 favorite. It was in the farm lane. So again, Team Vitality really switching up the team comps that we've been seeing for the past 3 days. Because we're not getting that tanky jungle, we're not really getting the Dharma or the Mai Yin into the clash lane. We're actually seeing Byron surface for the first time for Team Vitality. It looks like the Motsu, as of yet, is going to be the support pick. So again, great shot calling potential for Benji. If not, it's going to go into that mid lane, which again is great utility for the Motsu, for being able to just use that first skill, set up a great engage for either the Byron or the Pei, and then create the distance for the Huangjong to use that massive ultimate that we know he packs. And yep, it's going to be into the support lane as they lock in the Shangguan, which we saw yesterday on Highland. And with those finishing strokes, could this be the finishing stroke they need to take game 1 with this mid lane pick?
Yeah, and Team Vitality kind of doing a little bit more, I would say, unconventional draft. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen. The Huangjong is the first pick for them, actually in the entire tournament itself. So this is one of those things where they're trying to be a little bit more creative, maybe testing things out. This is, of course, the first game, and of course, this is the match 1, game 1. We're going to be going into Team Vitality, Heat Stars, going into this, but who knows? Maybe they're testing the waters, trying new things. We're going to have to find out. But Blam, knowing the draft, seeing the players, who do you give the edge to?
I honestly can't call it. I mean, we are meant to be super unbiased in this one, but again, because the weight that these players have within these teams and showed throughout the Season 2 Invitational, it's honestly 50-50. Because over to the side of VKS, they do have the Dolia, even though she is the only hero with a 100% appearance rate in the entire of the Season 2 Invitational. She's only at a 38% win rate, which, when you think about it, yes, she's been banned 19 times and only picked 8, but she's only picked up a 38% win rate within those 8 times. Really showed you that it hasn't been the best pick within the Season 2 Invitational, whether that's down to the tankier heroes being more of a spotlight within these drafts of Season 2 is going to be super interesting to see if this really affects either of these teams, because again, the only real tank onto the side of VKS is the Dune pick, which we haven't seen Danny play yet. He's been mostly going for those flashy jungler picks for the majority of that Season 2 Invitational, but we're already seeing a little bit of a presence here, a little bit of tit-for-tat up into the clash lane between Byron and Elaine, and normally Byron is going to be your early game hero when it comes to going for those 1v1s. And oh, Niap looking pretty low. The CC immunity does save him, but for how long? How long's that dash going to be? 90 coming in with the first blood onto VKS. Niap in the clash lane.
Yeah, Niap in a bad spot. He got a little bit low. He was getting destroyed in that top lane, and this is a bit of a rough one, right? You don't want it to be dying. You're losing a lot of XP. You're losing a lot of potential, any sort of gold. But if we're talking about Lady Jeanne here, more in the mid lane, of course, the most hotly contested one. If we're talking about skill combinations, it's going to be what? Ocean of Tears to start things off. You have your Destructive Deluge to kind of create that zone, and then you end up with the Ocean of Tears back off when it's off cooldown, and then end it with a Flowing Sigh. Of course, there's a lot to remember in terms of these combinations, but if you want to scale and do that damage, this is probably the best combination for you.
Yeah, like I said, she has been one of the bigger, highest appearance mid lanes in the entire tournament, and then obviously having a fantastic 73% win rate. But Frenzy is the common skill we are going to be highlighting right now, so it increases your damage by 10%, resistance by 15%, and lifesteal by 20%, and then magic lifesteal by 30%. As you can see, this common skill is more available onto the likes of your assassin-like heroes, like we see on the Shangguan in the mid lane, but we normally see on the Ali as well, which unfortunately we're not going to see Saucer or City Boy on the Ali this time around. We are going to be seeing the Huang Zhong and the Ho Yi, but paired with that Dolia, that could come through in multiple avenues here. You don't know where that second ultimate's going to come from and where that focus is coming from right now, but with her being paired in that bot lane, we're more than likely going to see on the Ho Yi, so 2 of those Burning Sun arrows coming through, and again, the distance traveled means that that longer stun duration is definitely something you want to be dodging out on. And onto the side of Team Vitality, there's not really anything that can counter it, because their go-to, or within the Season 2 Invitational, the go-to counter of that one is the Ali, with obviously the Maple Dance being able to cancel those longer range abilities coming through to you. But again, onto the side of Vitality, I don't see anything being able to dodge that unless you have the dashes in your potential, and you know you have the right intelligence that blazing arrow is coming directly for you.
Yeah, and if we're looking at Team Vitality, they've already got a 1k net worth lead. They've been doing a good job in terms of prioritizing the bottom lane. The Cannon Blast, that's going to start this one. Sacer getting destroyed there with a finishing stroke, and he takes out 2 with it, and he's styling already. Highland making his way from the mid lane to the bottom lane to ensure he gets those 2 kills.
Highland so sick with the flow. The double kill coming through literally for pre-4 minutes, setting up that Tyrant camp very beautifully for the side of Team Vitality. And I think this game 1, oh, there we go. There's a blazing arrow coming through from the Ho Yi, landing straight onto Shanks. And that's what I was saying before, Hola, is that you don't want to get hit from all the way in the enemy base. Landing that arrow on you is some crazy, insane CC duration, and you don't want to be witnessing that.
Okay, I kind of blame Highland for that, because Highland got the kill onto Sacer, and then he had just spawned, and right as he spawned, he threw out the Burning Sun arrow, and he ended up getting, he capitalized, and he hit Shanks with that one. So it's one of those things where, yeah, the respawn timer, he didn't expect it, but the arrow, the angle of the attack coming directly down the mid lane was something that he completely caught him off guard.
Yeah, no, that was beautifully placed there, and I feel like Shanks is probably like, okay, I'll take that one on the chin. I will definitely be looking at that one. I will be changing my whole plays
down
now.
The mid lane was something that he completely caught him off guard.
You don't want to be caught out more than once,
yeah, no,
because again, you just saw how fast they were able to run down Shanks, because Pabe not being the most tanky hero, but speaking of tanky heroes, Dune with the engage, but then Ho Yi being able to get the kill onto Motsu, and then Huang Zhong's been able to sit safely into the back of that turret there, trying to do as much damage as we see that Highland comes through with Shangguan, but we know the ultimate counter for Shangguan is making sure that everybody groups up so that damage is shared by that finishing stroke, so no strokes will be finishing off VKS within that little clash in the mid lane.
Yeah, and he tried to make a play, tried to kind of avenge his team, trying to get that counter kill, but there were just too many of them. VKS sticking together, understanding, oh, looks like Mena, he's going to be launched up, and it looks like he's going to pick off. He's going to just recover for now. Throws out the Flowing Sigh for good measure.
Yeah, we see onto the side of Team Vitality, they're actually doing very well in terms of the turret and lane priority, because they have 2 turrets to Neil Pois onto the side of VKS, because they're just doing fantastic macro plays here. But speaking of macro plays, we are seeing the LA come through. Niap wants that revenge onto the Byron, but no, Highland is denying that revenge. He's like, hey, eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, so you're not taking my teammate. I will definitely take you down in that little interaction within the jungle of Team Vitality. And they are not letting them stop that tempo. It's still maintaining. We're seeing Pei pick up his red buff, and we have the Overlord Vanguards pushing these lanes as well. And already the side lanes are looking at a very shaky position going into the 7th minute.
Yeah, let me go back to... Okay, it looks like they're going to go for 1, and Highland makes another play, finishing strokes his way back on out of there. But let me talk a little bit more about the Niap dive into that jungle. He went for the Death at Sunset. He tried to land right on top of Highland. Highland actually outplayed him. He used the finishing stroke, making him untargetable, so Niap just landed without doing any sort of damage, and then he was in a bad position. And so Highland was able to just kind of outplay him in their own jungle.
Yes, definitely an outplay, and who else to perform that other than Team Vitality, as they've had such an amazing start to Season 2 Invitational, and they're not going to slow down here. This is day 4. They don't care if they're top seed already. They want to claim it, but Dune going in. Soaking it, but a lot of damage. Pei going down thanks to the Ho Yi. We see the Highlands into the back of the queue, but he has to be careful. He is going to be focused, but Ho Yi goes down as well. That is a 1-for-1 trade onto the side of Team Vitality. 1 taking down Highland as well. So that is a 2-1 trade for VKS, and they hold their mid lane turret close to their chest as it is not taken down in that brawl.
Okay, one thing we've seen from Team Vitality is that Highland is the type of player where if one of his teammates is killed, he doesn't care. He's going to look to go for the counter kill. He's going to try to dive in, but as I say this, Benji gets a little bit low. Peacebringers back to safety, and it looks like Team VKS are going to take the T1 mid and ensure that they get this, looking to convert into a Tyrant hero.
That tier 1 falling in the mid lane is a little bit of a red flag for me, Hauler, because again, that jungle is now going to open up wider for VKS Danny. And this Dune pick is showing it's a tried and tested pick. Yes, I used to give it a lot of slack in the Season 1 Invitational and the beginning of this Season 2, but it's really showing that if you need that tank, if you need that anchor on your team, this is the hero you want to be picking, because the amount of damage this hero can soak up, especially going with it such tanky items as well. We see the likes of the crowd control boots coming through. We have the burning cape as well. So not only does Dune go in, soaks up damage, he's able to do some damage over time thanks to the burning cape as well, if he's not already hitting you with those basic attacks. But you can see onto the side of Team Vitality, they've gone for all crowd control boosts because there's so much CC on the side of EKS.
Yeah, and Dude has just so much potential for outplay. He has pretty much, he's like a jack of all trades, right? He can do almost anything. He can get in there with Unruly Blade. He can actually use that to escape as well. He's got the Gale's Benediction to kind of just shield himself up, as well as just kind of creating that AoE type of whirlwind type of attack. Plus he has the Wind Slash that just kind of has an AoE stun, which just kind of combos onto everything. So he's got the tools. It just comes back to the player of ensuring that you take the right initiations. You're able to kind of, you know, get into the heart of the enemy team, so to speak, and then you'll really see the power of the Duke.
Absolutely. Nothing short of a absolutely staple pick here for VKS. We haven't seen it much within the Season 2, but again, it just really just shows Danny is able to play those flashier junglers, but also those father-like figures in the jungle presence there, like the Dune. Are they going to be able to steal this Overlord? Not quite. They was able to get the Shadow Tyrant, and with that Primal Bond being procced after taking one of the jungle objectives, you don't want to try and take the other Shadow Overlord, because it takes you a long time. It then also opens up for a lot of errors on the side of EKS. But Team Vitality was able to take it without it being stolen. Again, I feel like this is going to be what's going to apply more pressure for Vitality in those lanes now that they have their Shadow Vanguard, because they really want to try and claim that T1 in the mid lane. because it just means for the likes of Shanks, Highland are then able to set up bigger engages, some bigger flanks onto the side of VKS as well. But if we're looking at that goal difference, it's definitely coming smaller and smaller as the game goes on. We were seeing a very strong start from Team Vitality, but VKS was like, no. There's a reason why we're the Season 1 Invitational champions, and we're about to show you in this best of 3. But it seems so close, and like I said, this was going to be nothing short than a 50-50 matchup.
Yeah, and if we're looking at that, I mean, the net worth, the biggest one is the biggest gap between the two roles, the CT Boy and Sacer, right? There's about a 1K difference here. Nighty on the run. He's going to be chased out, but it looks like it's going to be, you know, all for naught, so to speak, for VKS. They're going to back off here, but CT Boy getting that farm is a bit of a concern. He's going to do all that damage. He's the farm laner, of course. You kind of want to limit him as much as possible. VKS have not done a good job of shutting him down.
No. Yes, you are correct there, Holler. I think that Sacer is just able to sort of position himself very well with Danny on the Dune as well. It just means that he doesn't have to worry about getting close to the front line, because with Ho Yi, okay, basic attack comes through. We are able to close the T1 in the mid lane for Team Vitality, which I think at that 12-minute mark, for that turret to stay remaining would have been a struggle for them to continue the aggression and continue that lane priority that they've been keeping for the majority of the game. If that T1 was going to stay standing, it would be an issue for Team Vitality, so making sure that is down is going to only further their cause trying to get to the enemy team's crystal. But as we see that the farm lane has no T2 anymore, it's down straight to the high ground turret. So putting some priority there and putting some pressure could really change this match around. We've seen Huang Zhong come through with the ultimate, but going on to Dune, is it really going to do that much damage? Seeing that Dune was able to sustain that 3v1 damage there and only take, what, maybe a quarter of his health, is just showing the amount of soaking of damage that this pick can do. But we may see a unsuspected Shanks or an unsuspected Danny here getting picked off.
Yeah, but VKS trying to limit the amount of space that Team Vitality have, and this is why Danny's being a little bit more aggressive. Yeah, he's up in front, and he's being, you know, scouted out with by Team Vitality with the ults and all the different spells to kind of just fish him for, you know, wherever Danny might potentially be. But this is a situation where VKS, they want to be aggressive. They want to take the team fights. They want to push you out as well as invade the enemy jungle, because they need to catch up. And they've done a pretty decent job. This net worth lead has dwindled from a 2K to about, what, 500 gold at this point. So they definitely are doing the right things. They're making the right moves, and it looks like they're going to take a free Tyrant here.
Yep, the pendulum of the gold difference is in full motion of swing right now, but I feel like this focus for the Shadow Tyrants is all to aid that Ho Yi, because again, huge ultimate. Oh my days, the crucial kill theft comes through for Elaine, taking the Shadow Overlord. Niap putting some respect on his name in that clash lane is huge for VKS. This could be, again, massive. Once we see that Niap comes back, the Overlord is going to be dropped as well. We're going to have the Tyrants on the side of VKS as well. So not only the damage, but the lane priority. These Vanguards can really put your enemy team into a sticky situation. But as for now, Team Vitality do look like they have got VKS on that back foot. They're looking to push this T2 turret in the mid lane for VKS. Hong Jong already putting pressure onto the back line there. Already trying to do a lot of damage onto the Dune, and was able to set up a takedown of that T2 in the mid lane.
Yeah, they've taken that one out. And it goes back to the play of Niap, right? He goes in, obviously it was a high risk, high reward play. He got rewarded for it. He died in the process. But if he had died and didn't get the steal, that could have been a disaster. That could have been so bad for them. Now they've bought themselves some time. Now you're going to see the Overlord kind of pushing in the bottom lane. So you have that sort of push with the Drakes. And now Team Vitality need to respond in kind. They need to kind of back up, deal with all the Drakes that they're going to have. And then just the amount of farm is going to be somewhat limited. So now VKS are looking to push it.
Looking to push it indeed. T2 looking pretty low, but we're seeing a lane go in straight onto Highlanders. Down again. Oh, Sacer taking down 90. So 2-0 trade right now. Death on Sunset coming through. That's a 2-1 trade thanks to the Huangzhang, but no more is Huangzhang. City Boy is down, and we're seeing that Pei is taking some pain, but the shield coming through to save him. Niap is not going to be able to close that third kill for himself. However, that Shadow Vanguard is coming through in the farm lane. It may just be the curtain call here for the side of Team Vitality, as they are 3 men down. It is about to be a 4th man down. Somebody call an ambulance for Team Vitality. It is an ace. Right now, the Crystal is being taken down in Game 1. VKS 1-0 against Team Vitality. The European Titan bleeds.
Yeah, and the VKS, well, talk about well played, right? They were behind. They understood, hey, if they're not going to push it out, they're not going to take advantage of that lead and not force us to be playing defensively, then we're going to take the action to them. We're going to be, up in front of them. We're going to be taking the enemy jungle. We're going to be just forcing you to play defensively. And so they turned it around. They found that opening, and they were just able to kind of capitalize on that. Really well played by Vivo Kid Stars.
Let me just wipe away my tears, man. I mean, Europe taking an L. That's just hard to even try and process. But what a fantastic Game 1 from VKS. And we were speaking about this pre-production as well, Hall, about VKS being the champions. They always say in their little intros, you're about to find out who the best Western team is. And so far, they have rarely got a blemish on their name, really showed any faults within the Season 2 Invitational. So for Team Vitality to finally meet them in Day 4, and this is the only time they've taken a round away from Team Vitality, really shows you the pure potential of VKS and the reason why they won Season 1 Invitational. Yes, we have to admit that the teams probably weren't up to scratch compared to what it is in Season 2. Season 2 is definitely a harder challenge than Season 1, but VKS still rising to the challenge, still keeping their name, still trying to maintain that championship of Season 1 all the way to Season 2 championships at the end.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments where Team Vitality, yeah, you've taken this loss, but you're not out of this one. It's like, how do you bounce back? How do you get yourself into this one? If we're looking at some of the net worth, I mean, if we're looking at it straight up across, nothing really sticks out to me too much from Team Vitality. I think that it was more of not an itemization issue, but just more of like a play style thing. I think VKS really took the fight to them, and Team Vitality, again, just on the defensive, didn't really know how to deal with the pressure that VKS was putting on them.
Yeah, because we saw that the Pei and the Byron was drafted very, very early on the side of Team Vitality. I think maybe they were suspecting that Danny may have not gone for a tank jungle pick. Maybe they would have put something more so a tanky clash lane. But however, Danny did surprise, and Danny's KDA really shows how effective that this Dune pick was against the likes of the Shangguan, the Pei, but also Byron. The amount of damage that come through these 3 heroes, and he was able to soak it all and not take a single death in Game 1 really shows how well the Dune pick is in the Season 2 Invitational. But like you said, it feels like it's just because Team Vitality are trying something different here. We haven't seen them on a tank jungle before. Pei coming through is for the first time for Shanks. So again, it may just be a unfamiliar scene for them. We may see a little bit of an adaptation in Game 2, whether they'll try a tank within their roster this time around, because we can't really call Motsu a tank. Even though we started to see some tanky items being built on the Motsu, he definitely cannot sustain the amount of damage that Dune can.
Yeah, and I mean, look at how much damage he did. He took 90k, obviously very tanky. He played Danny. Danny played the Dune to the limits, right? That's exactly what you want. If you're looking at one, and again, this is why Lady Jeanne is like one of the most hotly contested one. The fact that you're able to do all this damage, and you take somewhat limited damage because your positioning is on par. One has done a great job with that. And why Caesar, of course, Caesar with the 100% team fight rate, always there when you needed him, making sure that he gets those kills while doing as much damage as possible, especially throwing out those burning sun arrows, which was setting up a lot of kills across the map.
Yeah, I think the pairing of the Hou Yi and the Doom was just perfect, and you can kind of see the strat that VKS was going for. The fact that these 2 heroes alone have 100% team fight participation is that Seisu was just like, yo, you take the lead, I will stay by you. I know I can get the positioning if you're there. And then the fact that they have Niap as well that's able to kind of scare away the Shang-Guan, which we saw multiple times within those interactions with, especially in the enemy jungle as well. But looking at that gold graph, you could honestly think how hectic that match was and how great of an early game we saw from Team Vitality. The graph shows it all. And then you can kind of see the decline where the side of VKS was able to focus the Shadow Tyrant, and again that just gives more damage over to Ho Yi. And a hero that attacks so fast, you don't want to be giving that damage an extra chain lightning effect over to, because he can just reach you even further. Even though he's got a blazing sun arrow, with those basic attacks, it's just zapping you with lightning and just doing damage over time. So again, it's just a hard thing to play against when you have the majority of squishy heroes onto the side of Team Vitality. But the MVP is going to be Maina, so we're seeing a support MVP come through. 018 damage dealt. Obviously, support's not meant to do the damage, but the damage taken, that 53k, is absolutely exceptional. And only dying once and having 8 assists is really what it's all about when you are a support player.
Yeah, definitely. And Dahlia was the type of pick where, even as of yesterday, had a 0% win rate going in. It's actually picked up quite a bit. I believe it's a 44% now. So it's done its damage. It has a lot of control. It provides a lot of support, utility that you want from your support player. So having the MVP on this one, Maina really playing the hero Dahlia to the limits, very strong there. But if we're going to talk about some of the highlights here, this is one of those moments where you thought that, Team Vitality had this huge edge getting the first 2 kills right there, kind of trying to set themselves up. But then where did the wheels kind of come off, Blim?
I feel like it was all around those jungle objectives. So once we started to see a more focus on the main jungle objectives for VKS, we saw those Shadow Tyrants come through. The positioning for the Ho Yi was just impeccable. There was just a huge fortress known as Dude right in front of him at all times. And no one like Highland or Pei or even Byron could get latch onto the Ho Yi. It was just a hard thing for them to do. Again, like I said, I feel like it's just an unfamiliar scene here for Team Vitality because they don't have that jungle tank. Seems to be their MO through the entire of the Season 2 Invitational. And then that beautiful steal from Niap was really the huge high-risk, high-reward play that you were speaking about, Hauler. It really played dividends in this Game 1, if anything, was where the wheels physically and evidently fell off.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this, there's a lot of good things that Niap did, right? I mean, you look at the KDA, he's like 2-3-3 or something like that. He didn't get a whole lot of kills, but he was just providing so much space. He was putting, Team Vitality, there was so much pressure on Team Vitality to kind of respond to what Niap was doing. Yes, he was kind of, sometimes maybe out of position, but he would play it to the limit and ensure that, his team is pushing in other lanes because he's providing so much attention elsewhere. So he did a really good job of just being that bait, quote unquote.
Yeah, I mean, VKS Niap is potentially my favorite Clash Lane player to date, from witnessing him from all the way from Chuck BR23 all the way till now. He can just multiply play. But speaking of play, if you haven't logged into the game yet today, guys, Yao is now available. The Shining Star, Jing's brother. I've played him once already, and I can honestly say he is shaping up to be a very fun hero with not only his ultimate that can pass him back to a position that was 2 seconds ago, but the fact that you can stack up that passive and then get a CC onto your second ability is very good for trying to get those little wormy heroes trying to escape away from you. So Yao now available on the Gorge.
Yeah, I've yet to try him. I will do so right after this cast. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what he's going to be doing. Because, I mean, going into this one, it's like the potential of it going, seeing some of the video clips that I've seen already, they've seemed pretty phenomenal. And it seems very exciting. It's definitely something new to try out. So I'm super happy to kind of give them a shot later on today.
I'm going to say the good thing about his ultimate as well is the fact that it's got such a low cooldown. It's not like let's get a 2-second recall back onto my further last position, but it's like about 14-second cooldown. So again, you can really make some really great plays. So if you dash over the wall of one of the tyrants or the overlord camps and you think that the enemy jungler is escaping and you like the enemy Yao is escaping, he can just recall back in. If he's got those 4 stacks, he can CC you up, smite one of those camps. There's huge outplay potential for this hero, so make sure you do go and try him, preferably in casual. Get a grips with him. Try him out first. Don't take him straight into ranked and flame your teammates. Please, please. Endorsed by Blam.
Yeah, and chances are if he's in ranked, he's on my side, and that, my teammate has never played him before, and it's always on my side, right? While the enemy team, he's been been training for as long as possible from this morning, right when the release, and he's an amazing player. But that said, okay, with Team Vitality, took it one on the chin. How do they bounce back? What do they need to do a little bit better, Blam?
I think they just need to go back to their usual business. They need that tanky jungle, whether the Kaiser, because obviously that being banned in Game 1 was probably a little bit of an upset for them. Maybe they don't really play the Dune, or this is something they're trying to hold on to going into the quarterfinals, because you got to think here that Team Vitality don't really want to show everything right now because, again, they are in the top 8. They're going through to EWC. They're going through to the quarterfinals. If you're starting to show your pocket picks here when it doesn't necessarily count, you can kind of see why they're doing what they're doing. But hey, you want to get a win on the board. You want to make sure you can make the Brazilian Titans bleed within the group stage rather than finding out all the way into the quarterfinals that they kick your butt again. So we're into the picks and bans of Game 2. We're seeing that Kaiser ban, the Mai Shiranui ban on the side of VKS. And then we look over to the side of Team Vitality. They love banning out that Hino. They know that Danny loves this pick, but they know that Danny isn't strict to this pick, as we just saw in Game 1 on the Dune. And then Ali, one of the most contested heroes in this game because both of their farm laners love this pick.
Okay, you didn't say it. I was trying to see if you would kind of mention it, but it was one of those things because the Huangjong pick in the last one, I just felt like it was really underwhelming. And again, I don't want to call him out or anything like that, CT Boy, on it. I think he's a great farm laner, but I just felt like the Huangjong was just not the right pick to kind of synergize with the rest of the draft from Team Vitality in Game 1.
Yeah, your Huangjong is normally going to be paired with like the Dolia, or if you don't have a tank in your jungle, which they didn't, they really should have gone for the Zhongfei. But again, I believe Zhongfei was banned in Game 1, so there was no tank to be had. The Motsu was kind of like a last resort, it seemed to me, because sometimes he can do great in the support lane. Other times, like we just saw, not quite so much. But over to the side of Team Vitality, they do pick up the Elaine, which hasn't been something that Nighty goes for normally. It's generally the Dharma, it's generally the Mayin, and same for Highland. We're not seeing that flashy Highland, we are seeing the Princess Frost come through. So a huge shout out to the Season 1 Invitational Utility Mage that was highly contested. Princess Frost just has so much means within her kit. Obviously, Winter is Coming is a huge AoE. Paired with the Dolia means you get 2 seasons of Winter. But oh, VKS still going for the Doom pick, but they go for the Guan Yu, which we have seen, I think, at least once on Niap, and it was played beautifully. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, they're looking to counter the Elaine, right? If Team Vitality picked up the Elaine, they were like, hey, if we can't beat them, we're going to join them. We're going to take the Elaine ourselves. But VKS are like, okay, you want to take that one? We have the Guan Yu who's just going to push down your lane, make things a little bit difficult for your Elaine. And so I think that clash lane is going to be very difficult. They need to figure out, Team Vitality that is, they need to figure out a way to how best to counter this. Do they put a little bit more resources where there'll be more rotations in that clash lane to kind of give a lane the best chance in that top lane? But we're going to have to find out, of course.
Yeah, they ban out the Liam Po on the side of Team Vitality. I feel like if they've got the Guan Yu and the Lady Shen, I don't feel like another tank needs to sort of go into the enemy team comp. But then again, I could be wrong. It all depends on who their farm lane's going to be. But I know who it isn't going to be. It's not going to be Ho Yi. So again, Seiza not getting the Ho Yi pick, the Ali is down, and their go-to pick after this for the entire Season 2 Invitational has always been Lady Sun. So, being banned as well, they ban out their own Lady Sun, so it's going to be really interesting to see if they go for the DRNG or they go for the Marco Polo, or we could be seeing something completely different here. There we go, Marco Polo does enter the Gorge for BKS, and I believe this is the first time on the side of BKS as well.
I don't know if they've picked up the Marco Polo. Obviously, the Marco Polo has had somewhat limited success in the league thus far.
Yes.
It's been picked 6 times. It has a 17% win rate, not the best. And it seems like most of the teams struggle giving Marco Polo as much space as required. It's a very late game hero where you can kind of blow it up. Now, Team Vitality know the Marco Polo's there. They need to figure out some sort of way to kind of, again, put pressure on him, take away the farm, as well as maybe even just go in at him and just make sure that he's stunned so that when he does use the Fever Barrage, he's not going to do a whole lot of damage.
Oh, okay. Ying gracing the Gorge for the first time in Season 2 Invitational. The first time we saw this actually in competitive play, I believe, hasn't been since Season 1 Invitational, and it was onto the side of Major Pride, who weren't the best at the time. They have improved massively. To pick after this for the entire Season 2 Invitational has always been Lady Sun. So, being banned as well, they ban out their own Lady Sun, so it's going to be really interesting to see if they go for the DRNG or they go for the Marco Polo, or we could be seeing something completely different here. There we go, Marco Polo does enter the Gorge for BKS, and I believe this is the first time on the side of BKS as well.
I don't know if they've picked up the Marco Polo. Obviously, the Marco Polo has had somewhat limited success in the league thus far.
Yes.
It's been picked 6 times. It has a 17% win rate, not the best. And it seems like most of the teams struggle giving Marco Polo as much space as required. It's a very late game hero where you can kind of blow it up. Now, Team Vitality know the Marco Polo's there. They need to figure out some sort of way to kind of, again, put pressure on him, take away the farm, as well as maybe even just go in at him and just make sure that he's stunned so that when he does use the Fever Barrage, he's not going to do a whole lot of damage.
Oh, okay. Ying gracing the Gorge for the first time in Season 2 Invitational. The first time we saw this actually in competitive play, I believe, hasn't been since Season 1 Invitational, and it was onto the side of Major Pride, who weren't the best at the time. They have improved massively. To pick after this for the entire Season 2 Invitational has always been Lady Sun. So, being banned as well, they ban out their own Lady Sun, so it's going to be really interesting to see if they go for the DRNG or they go for the Marco Polo, or we could be seeing something completely different here. There we go, Marco Polo does enter the Gorge for BKS, and I believe this is the first time on the side of BKS as well.
I don't know if they've picked up the Marco Polo. Obviously, the Marco Polo has had somewhat limited success in the league thus far.
Yes.
It's been picked 6 times. It has a 17% win rate, not the best. And it seems like most of the teams struggle giving Marco Polo as much space as required. It's a very late game hero where you can kind of blow it up. Now, Team Vitality know the Marco Polo's there. They need to figure out some sort of way to kind of, again, put pressure on him, take away the farm, as well as maybe even just go in at him and just make sure that he's stunned so that when he does use the Fever Barrage, he's not going to do a whole lot of damage.
Oh, okay. Ying gracing the Gorge for the first time in Season 2 Invitational. The first time we saw this actually in competitive play, I believe, hasn't been since Season 1 Invitational, and it was onto the side of Major Pride, who weren't for this actually in competitive play, I believe, hasn't been since Season 1 Invitational, and it was onto the side of Major Pride, who weren't for this actually in competitive play, I believe, VKS being the champions, they, I believe. VKS being the champions, they, I believe.
Bad time. So that's why he's picked up the Purify. The Purify will just kind of cleanse it or make him immune for about 1.5 seconds, which is pretty much all you need to do all that damage that you need to do. But if we're going to look into this one, it looks like bad time. So that's why he's picked up the Purify. The Purify will just kind of cleanse it or make him immune for about 1.5 seconds, which is pretty much all you need to do all that damage that you need to do. But if we're going to look into this one, it looks like bad time. So, but if we're going to look into this one, it looks like the Purify will just kind of cleanse it or make him immune for about 1.5 seconds, which is pretty much all you need to do all that damage that you need to do. But if we're going to look into this one, it looks like
because once again, if they're able to take that side lane a little bit sooner, it means that the Marco Polo and the Yari are a little bit more susceptible to ganks from the Ying as well. So you can kind of see the painting, the picture that they are painting for us in Game 2, Match 1 between Team Vitality and BKS. Because once again, if they're able to take that
30
side
seconds
lane
in,
a
and it's
little
going to use a
bit
Fever
sooner,
Barrage, and he does some work, and CT Boy is going to go down, give it up first blood. Zacer, though, is getting so low, he's getting sniped out. Highland will ensure he gets that kill, but BKS, I mean, if you're looking at that tower T1, Team Vitality have done a great job of putting that pressure down, and with Zacer down, that's a big win, although they did trade with CT Boy.
Yeah, even trades there. It was the marksman for marksman, so again we could say that is definitely an even trade overall for both of these teams. None of the junglers have gone down whilst these jungle objectives have now spawned. So first Tyrant and Overlord coming through in Game 2 here. Dune already looking for a rotation down to the Tyrant potentially here. Again would complement the Marco Polo pick beautifully. As we can see, Marco Polo is able to pick up that red buff, giving him extra damage going into these next team fights, and also the Tyrant fight potentially. Ying is definitely still on that side of the map as well. Dolia scouting out there. Benji just doing what supports are meant to do. Can we get a crucial kill? Oh, no! Danny gets the first Tyrant. I thought that Shanks had it in him, that he was going to be there to steal and repay back what happened in Game 1 against them in that Shadow Overlord, but not quite. They may have to try and settle for an Overlord in the first phase of the jungle.
Danny wins the Smite War. He ensures he gets it, secures that one. Absolute win for them. They were making a huge rotation, and CT Boy in the bottom lane was almost free farming, and so they had to kind of slow things down just because of the fact that they had to deal with a Tyrant. They tried to go for the steal, not able to do so, and it looks like Vivo Keed Stars coming out on top, at least with the net worth. Yes, it's very small at this point, but putting themselves up any sort of advantage right now for Vivo Keed Stars is a huge win for them because, again, they really know how to play with the lead.
Yeah, their roam is impeccable right now. It's just seeming to be that the Guan Yu and Dune are always very much close by, and that's kind of what you want to be looking out for, because those two can set up a great engage, especially when you've got the Lady Chen as well as the Marco Polo looking to rock around those lanes as well. But Ying is looking for a rotation, as there may be a little bit of a fight prompting here in the mid lane with Lady Shen. You got Yaria there. Dune is there as well. We've got both Zacer and 90 trading blows, but unfortunately it wasn't quite going to go through there. 90's having to recall, which could be at the detriment to Team Vitality in this mid-fight. Still hasn't managed to recall yet. He is still trying to delay his go back to base so that he can try and support and keep a hold of that farm lane T1. But look how much damage Team Vitality's Clash Lane T1 has. That's just a whistle or a blow away from falling.
Yeah, Guan Yu, look at him. He's level 9. He has the slight advantage against the 90, who's kind of been pushed out of lane quite a bit. Nyap has done a great job of forcing him out so that he can free farming. putting a lot of pressure in the top lane, meaning that the rest of the team can just deal with everything else, right? So Niapto doing a great job of ensuring that he's, playing the Clash lane to its maximum in the sense that he's independent. He's able to kind of put pressure without, any other sort of support. So he's done a great job. And VKS have taken advantage of that as they're looking to kind of push and invade in the enemy jungle and actually push in that bottom T1.
Yeah, Niap on the Guan Yu just really shows how well he can sort of macro and micro, because again, he's making sure that his lane's always cleared. He's now rotating back up because Ying's getting a little bit too close to comfort in that Clash lane T1, so he's going to go back, he's going to go nurse his lane, and then you'll more likely see him rotate back around to the Overlord or even back down to the mid lane, because he is just there to support his teammates, to set up, push those squishy heroes on the side of Team Vitality out of the turrets, the safety of the turret anyway, because we know there's plenty of squishy heroes on the side of Team Vitality, and huddling under those turrets is not going to be a safe option for them. We have Seiza doing a lot of damage onto City Boy as well, with the help of Yari, getting that 1 second knock-up onto the DRNG is also going to make sure, or at least try and get that cleanse off that second skill on cooldown, so the next time an engage comes through, he's not going to have it. He's going to be a sitting duck nonetheless.
Yeah, if we're looking at what Vivokeed Stars are doing, is that they're not really taking a whole lot of team fights. They're not forcing the issue. They're not looking for ambushes. What they're trying to do is playing objective-based Honor of Kings, right? They're taking what the enemy's giving them. All that space, look at the top T1, bottom T1, both of them had taken, and they've used that to kind of push things along, and they've taken the bigger ones, the Overlord, the Tyrants. They've been able to invade the enemy jungle, and they have a lead because of this. It's grown quite considerably because they understand the flow of the game. Where the minions are pushing, Niap is going to clear this one out. The enemy jungle is open in other areas, so they're taking advantage of all that space that's been provided by the lack of T1s that they have.
Yep, this is VKS real estate going on right now in the jungle and across the lanes, like you were saying, Hauler. Just Guan Yu, Niap on the Guan Yu is just beautifully being played here, macro-wise, always putting the attention into the lanes. Not quite seeing him pick up a kill yet or try and sort of like secure a team fight to go into VKS's favor. He's just all about nursing those lanes and making sure that VKS's lanes are looking healthy, looking strong, and making sure that priority stays there. But they are able to close out the Shadow Tyrant this time around as well. So again, Tyrant focus for the side of VKS is seeming to be the MO in this Match 1, Game 2 for VKS against Team Vitality. It's definitely a less scrappier game.
Yeah, and it's more strategic, right? Niap, again, pushing the bottom lane. Once that was pushing into the T2, you knew that Team Vitality would be from the bottom T2 into their own mid T2. That's the space that's been given to them. That's where they would be. And with that space that was provided, Niap was then able to kind of hide in that bush right behind the Tyrant to be just a forward scout to see if Team Vitality were going to make any sort of contest to that Tyrant. So Vivokeed Stars, while it looks like they got a free Tyrant, it was because of the space that was provided by Niap and the rest of the team, understanding how to be in the right position at the right time.
Yep, we have the Shadow Tyrant back up again with the Shadow Overlord as they have a bit of pressure in the Clash lane on the side of Team Vitality. It's already gone down to half health, which is crazy, but we are getting a bit of a gauge here from Team Vitality and VKS. Guan Yu into the back line. The lane trying to skip all that from the Death on Sunset. 90 makes Niap bleed, but they do lose the Shadow Tyrant, which, again, is a not equal trade. Yes, you get a second kill on the board, but you lose the Shadow Tyrant, especially when they have such a Soki, spongy Danny on the Dune, and they're all looking pretty low. Team Vitality on the run. Highland takes a kill down again, and then we have Seiza getting a double kill onto 90. Also, they are not stopping. The barrage of attacks is in the mid lane. They're looking to clean up their minions, getting that T1 hopefully in the mid lane. The only thing stopping them is Dolia and DRNG, but they are making sure work of that, pushing them away from that T1 turret in the mid lane.
All right, Vivokeed Stars, they lost Niap early, but they were like, actually, we have a net worth advantage. We can take this fight 4 versus 5. For the record, if you're in your ranked games, I do not recommend this play. Vivokeed Stars are pros, and there's a reason why they're able to take that fight and come out with the victors. They did get two kills onto Nighty and Highland. Things to take note of is that understanding the limits, and we'll see the replay here of how things started here, right? This is the Niap had already been killed. Caesar's like, actually, I still have my, my ult. We can go. We have the damage. We have it, and we were able to get 2 kills because of that. And Vivo Key Stars, again, really nice play. Those 2 kills have kind of expanded on this net worth lead, which has kind of grown to about 4.5k.
Yep, it's definitely working beautiful here for VKS. They are looking pretty strong going into the 12-minute mark. Team Vitality still struggling to get a second turret onto this game 2, which right now is looking very, very shaky for them. I feel like the wheels have potentially already fallen off for this team comp onto the side of Team Vitality. The Ying has not really shined through because even though she has the knock-up, she has the huge damage as well. She's just not been able to sort of encapsulate that onto the side of Team VKS because Danny being able to soak up and sponge so much damage. We have the shield coming from Yaria as well. There's just too much to try and calculate and deal with on the side of Team Vitality. They are just not knowing where to put that focus, but the focus is currently going onto that T2 turret in the Clash lane. Are they going to be able to wipe out those minions? No, Danny is into the back of the team fight there to keep them off of those minions. The Winter is coming through just to try and stop them and stop Danny going down as well. Shanks is a little bit too close. No, Danny is into the back of.
One of those things where Vivo Key Stars have played this game to the T. They've been very strategic, very calculated with their risks. Meteor kill going in for this one, not even getting any kills. But it's one of those moments where Vivo Key Stars have played so well that you don't see the card deteriorating before your own eyes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I feel like it, like you say, it's falling apart, but it's not diminishing straight away. It is just wobbling. It's wobbling along the road still. There is potential for that wobble to turn into a momentum, right? I mean, the 44k to the 38k now goal difference by VKS as they go to secure another Shadow Tyrant. Team Vitality struggling to get onto the board with these jungle objectives. So again, that is another string in their bow that seems to have snapped in game 2 of match 1, and VKS looking as strong as ever. Like I said before they went for the Overlord fight, this game has been very more of a strategic game, like you were saying, Hauler. There hasn't been as many kills across the board. It's just all about being Danny, Niap setting up those lanes and making sure there is big priority, too much pressure for Team Vitality to focus in these team fights and try and focus where the best place is to put those Princess Frost Winter is coming, because even though she has the privilege of having 2 seasons in 1, the Dolia doesn't seem to be doing as much of an effect in this game 2 for Team Vitality. It seemed like a bigger play for VKS and a bigger pick for them in game 1. We see that the higher ground turret's fallen in the farm lane for Team Vitality. They are struggling and holding on to that mid lane higher ground turret. There is no minion wave for the side of VKS to try and approach that one just yet, but it is steadily rocking down the road, and I feel like Team Vitality are just trying to hold on here. Niap is looking like a predator in the wild, just waiting for somebody to overstep on the side of Team Vitality, and he is looking still for his victim. We see that Vitality trying to go in. Shanks goes down early in the team fight. It is looking like almost a 2. Oh no, it's a 1-1 trade, 2-1 trade for the side of Team VKS. They take another kill. Niap is not happy with just a singular kill. He needs that double. There's only 1 minion at the crystal. Is that going to be enough for Team VKS to try and take the victory here? Dolia is able to keep them with a lifeline, but here comes the boys. They are back in town, both in all lanes, so they are not going to be able to do it. It's 2v3 right now, and the crystal is going to be taken down to a 2-0 for Team VKS. We honestly thought that this was going to be a best of 3, Hauler. What's going on?
No, the Vivo Key stars are the type where you give them the advantage, any sort of lead, they're just going to take over, right? And you see this, just how calculated, how surgical they were. They were like, okay, we don't care about kills. We're going to play this one objectively. We're going to beat you just with straight up strategy. I don't care if you kill, you know, one of our players here and there, because at the end of the day, I'm going to kill, like, I'm going to win. I'm going to make sure that we get the objectives. We're going to go for the crystals. We're going to take really smart fights, giving ourselves the best opportunity to win, because at the end of the day, all that matters is the crystal, not, of course, the kills of the KDA.
Yeah, you can kind of feel that what was going on there, like I said, with those not quite conventional jungle picks by Team Vitality, but I'm sure we'll get a little bit more invite in this
Thank you
winning
so much. What an
interview with
exhilarating
Chuchu.
match just now coming out from the side of VKS. Vivo K-Stars, you guys used to be the Season 1 champions. You hold on to that title, but man, that second match that Marco Polo says, that was amazing, man. Now, we do know when it comes to playing a carry, it's going to be difficult. But at the same time, how was the communication between you and your Yaria, who's been supporting you, Mana, who's been supporting you? How was the communication to make sure everything in sync between you two?
Como é que, parabéns, obviamente, deu para defender o título, é maravilhoso. Como é que foi a comunicação entre o time, entre a parte do apoio e o ataque no seu time?
Eu acho que a gente tinha uma boa situação de draft. Eles se colocaram em algumas situações ruins e a gente viu a oportunidade de pegar uma comp que escala muito, a composição que ia crescer muito no decorrer do jogo, e eles não tinham tantas formas de abusar da gente no começo do jogo. A gente viu a oportunidade mesmo, sem estar muito treinado, a gente foi lá e executou.
I think the communication went really well. We were obviously keeping an eye on the match. Just at the beginning it was a little slow, but we started to keep an eye when the opportunity arose, and I believe you also how we got the opportunity and it worked out for us.
Now, I have a request from a carry, a marksman. You guys always being the star, like your Marco Polo amazing. You always get the, no, you hold the mic, It's going to be from you. It's always going to be them, you know, the carry, the marksman, and the highlight and spotlight all the time. Can you say something that, like, even like, I love you for your support coming out from Maina just now, to be appreciated? I mean, supporters, we need love too, right? We are the roamers, we need support too. So, can you say some appreciative word to your supporter?
Vocês sempre estão ganhando, tem sempre muito apoio aí do pessoal, dos fãs. Você tem alguma mensagem aí pro pessoal? Porque eles também precisam sentir sua emoção, né? Fala alguma mensagem para os fãs.
Eu e todo o nosso time só queria agradecer por todo o suporte que tem dado a gente. A gente vem aí representando o Brasil, a gente sabe como a torcida brasileira e todo mundo que está aqui também tem muito carinho. Quando um brasileiro vai para fora, ele é sempre muito bem recepcionado, muito bem acolhido. E então eu só queria agradecer a todos os brasileiros que estão acompanhando a gente, que é madrugada lá e eles fazendo esse esforço, e todo mundo que está acompanhando a gente, e esse carinho que o mundo todo, quando a gente sai do Brasil, tem pelo Brasil. Isso é muito gratificante e é muito emocionante pra gente.
Every time we travel around the world, we feel the warmth of the location wherever we are. We feel the love. And we wanted to thank not just everybody here, but always our fans from Brazil, which right now they're watching us, even though it's dawn over there. So we always want to convey how at home we feel everywhere, and to thank everyone for their support.
I think that I was really thankful for that speech coming out for your supporters. Definitely they'll be supporting you as well. But if you have to give one word for Maina, who helped you so much in the game just now, what would it be?
Se você tivesse uma mensagem aí pro Maynard, que apoiou tanto nessa partida, o que você falaria para ele?
Eu falaria que ele manter a tranquilidade, que mesmo nas adversidades aí você consegue crescer, só manter o foco, o treinamento, que o resultado vem. Sempre deixaria essa mensagem para ele.
I'd say just keep level-headed, because whatever the situation, even when we're down, we're gonna get back up again. So keep focused, and we'll always get there.
Hug Maina for me. Okay, there you go. But you guys has been crazy when it comes to getting those, you know, still as per usual. That was amazing. Niap, that was an amazing work as well. But last but not least, coming out from Danny, I think he's going to pass it up to the captain. Last word towards all your supporters and also the team that you fight against later?
Última palavra para todos os seus fãs e para o time que vai se enfrentar agora em 2 dias.
Bom, a palavra que eu tenho para os fãs é basicamente a mesma de ontem. Eu só tenho a agradecer por vocês estar acompanhando a gente diariamente, mandando mensagem, todo o apoio nas redes sociais. E, bom, o fuso horário no Brasil é muito difícil, mas mesmo assim tá todo mundo assistindo, todo mundo torcendo, todo mundo muito feliz com a nossa caminhada. E para os times que a gente vai enfrentar bom, acho que hoje a gente cravou o nosso título de Rei do Ocidente, não existe outro. Então, vão ter que tomar cuidado. A gente vem para defender o nosso título e é isso.
Well, for the fans, obviously what I've been saying, thank you very much for all the support. It really keeps us going, no matter the time zone. And for the teams we are going to face, please get ready because we are coming to defend our title. So beware, we are coming.
Still your objectives as well. Just saying, but that's going to be VKS. Give it up to VKS. We're going to toss it back to the casters. But Brazil, vamos! Let's go back to the casters.
And there we had it, Hola, our game-winning interview from VKS that took a very surprising but definitely concrete 2-0 from Team Vitality, now putting VKS on the top of the top of Group A. So no Team Secret or LGD Gaming Malaysia in round 1 for them.
Yeah, and this is it's great to see because this is the top team from Brazil, and you just saw how well coached, how disciplined they were at the end of the day, right? I think they talked, it was Maynard at the very end who was kind of like, hey, you can we can lose the game, but we'll bounce right back out. And you saw that in game 1. They were losing and they were just like unfazed. We're going to continue to play our game. We know how to win in this, in Honor of Kings. We know how to do this one. So again, just very well coached, very well disciplined team that is honestly going to make some waves moving forward, not only in the knockout stage and maybe in EWC, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because we still have a lot more to see from that team.
Yeah, no, VKS, like I said, going through to it, they have been a strong team in Season 1. Obviously, the competition was nowhere near as tough as it is in Season 2. Season 1 had a lot of new teams, new players from different games, stuff like that. Whereas Season 2, everyone's developed, everyone's came into their own, and especially with the introduction of Southeast Asian teams as well, definitely didn't make it an easy feat within Season 2, which, again, VKS is still going to have to sort of try and see what they can do against the stronger C teams going through to the quarterfinals. But lucky for them, they won't meet them until potentially the semifinals. But here we are looking at the post-game analytics. And again, Danny not dropping a single death in 2 games. That's 2 games, Hauler. No deaths for VKS Danny on the Dune.
Yeah, and he's playing it to the limits, and this is why Dude is just so strong. I mean, he's so tanky. He got in and out, made a lot of plays. He caught them with the unruly blades. He would just be in your face almost the entire time. I mean, he's 105. He didn't die, and which is the biggest thing, but I'm pretty sure his damage received in that game was going to be quite high, and we'll probably see that in the next one. But I also want to give a shout out to Sesa. On this Marco Polo, we had seen time and time again where the Marco Polos, again, have had somewhat limited success. They really came out strong on this one, ensured that he was kind of covered by Mena with the Verdant Protectors from the Yaria. So they just had so much going for them. But if we're looking at damage taken, right? Look at this, Danny. 81,000, the second highest in this game.
Yeah, not quite the 90k from game 1, but hey, it was shared between Danny, it was shared between Niap as well. Niap we saw take a few L's this time around, but again, the teamfight participation, from Niap was 50% because, like we were saying in game 2, that he was there to nurse those lanes. He was there to give them the pushes that they needed, to push back the minions that were approaching their turrets, and then just see what happened from there. But Mena, again, with the 100% team fight participation, really showing that this Yaria was giving extra sponginess to the likes of the Dune, but it was also helping the Marco Polo, helping the Lady Chen as well with those single 1-second knockups, was able in Lady Chen to just drop her ults or even her first skill or second skill, landing them more perfectly, and you can really show how perfectly that was landed because 109k damage from the mid lane of VKS is nothing to frown down.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about one right there on the Lady Jun. I think that you have to ban her or pick her yourself because, you know, instead of picking like the Dahlia like they did in that last game. If we're looking at this gold graph, though, it went almost straight to VKS. Once they had that lead, again, they have a hard time of giving that up. They, again, played very, very well when they're ahead. I mean, they play well throughout, I think, with 3 wins across in the entire group, you know, A, but we're going to have to see how they fare against some of the other Titans and the other leaders of, you know, the other groups. And we're going to see that one in the knockout stage. That's going to be coming. But again, they played so well, ending this game in about 16 minutes.
Absolutely. We are about to crown MVP of Game 2. I can imagine it could be Seiza or Maynard again, but there we go. Seiza coming through with 83k damage dealt. The 52k damage taken, and then obviously the gold. Look at that gold, baby. Game 2, 13.4k gold, and obviously 4 kills to 2 deaths to 3 assists. Playing the Marco Polo beautifully, and like you were alluding to in the pre-game draft there, Hauler, saying that Marco Polo's got a shaky start in this tournament, man. But he really showed that on the right player, in the right team comp, that Marco Polo can really shine.
Yeah, and I mean, they did a lot of it. This is the Fevered Barrage that gave him first blood. I think he does die in the end, but taking out CT Boy, absolutely huge for them. That was the kind of the start of this somewhat, you know, the VKS playstyle of, again, playing with that lead, but they took advantage of it. Most of this thing, Niop dies here. They turn this one into a 4 versus 5 fight. This is going to be the one that's proceeding. They chase after him. Cesar's like, hey, I'm still strong. I can go. And he gets a double kill here and just starts to clean house. This is where you're kind of like, it's Team Vitality. He's like, oh, we're kind of in trouble. This Cesar is actually starting to pop off. He's getting a whole bunch of farm, pushing Shanks back into the heart of the enemy team. And Cesar, like with his 83,000 damage, second highest across the board, only to his own teammate, 1, really showing just how this team is really starting to gel at the right time.
Yeah, it's really holding truth to Danny's words, what he was saying in one of the first VCTs, saying that this is the strongest that VKS has ever been. This team comp is a monster, and they are definitely showing this now, because VKS going into the 4th and final day of the group stages take that Group A top spot. Like we keep saying, it means that they get to push away the beasts that are Team Secret and LGD for another round. So well played to VKS getting to that top spot of Group A. Team Vitality, you just got to try and make sure that if you are going against one of these Titans, that you better up that game into the quarterfinals, because LGD Gaming are not looking to lose a round at all. And then Team Secret, even though they had a bit of a shaky, some mistakes in the games, but able to still pull a 2-0 victory, regardless of what the fans say against TNX. I feel like that Team Vitality still cannot underestimate Team Secret.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it comes back to Group A, right? This is a thing where, hey, you're the group of death. You had the most amount of teams that we had to go up against. We had to play this round robin against 3 other teams, but we still came out on top. We beat everyone. We beat Team Vitality, Boom Esports, Food Esports, anybody. You throw anyone at me, and we got you. And Fivo Keith Stars really played well, and this is going to be a whole bunch of momentum going into that knockout stage.
Absolutely. Again, Foot Esports against Boom Esports is the last match of the day, so that's the last game of Group A. But we have the Esports Awards coming up very soon, guys. So Honor of Kings is up for an award, so we really need your help actually voting for it. So again, we are thrilled to announce that we are going to be a part of the Mobile Esports Game of the Year Award at the Esports Awards 2024. So you can cast your vote over to esportsawards.com. Make sure you do lock it in for Honor of Kings, nothing else, or we will be coming for you. We know where you are. And then please support us on that one. And then we also have the next thing on our schedule, which is the prizes. Because, I mean, hey, if you're going to vote, you may as well go into this one to win yourself a few prizes. So this is our subscriber event. So in the Season 2 Invitational, follow us, follow HOK Global Esports on all the social medias to participate in the community events. We'll get a chance to win great rewards, a gaming phone, watches, and permanent skins await you if you do subscribe to us on all of the social medias. So if you're not a Twitter user, go on Instagram. If you're not an Instagram user, we have the TikTok, we have Twitch, we have Discord, we have plenty of places you can follow HOK Global Esports, and another way to support us other than the voting in the esports awards.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like the easiest way. And yeah, I mean, if you end up winning and you don't want it, send it to myself or Blam. We'll happily take it off your hands, and we'll make sure that, we make some good use out of it and give it a good home, so to speak. I think there's a lot. It's the easiest way to win, so you might as well do that. But upcoming, of course, we're going to have the other Brazilian team, the number 2 seed. It's going to be Loops. It is going to be all global, all gamers global. They're going to be coming up next. And that was going to be a bit of a barn burner too, because we're going to find out who's going to be the top seed in that group.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see this one, Hauler, because again, we haven't seen all gamers global since day one. And in the Open Series EMEA Split 1 finals, they were the top team. They didn't drop around, whereas this is a different story. They dropped around against R8 Esports, and Loops Esports was able to take them down 2-0. So it's not going to be too long now, guys. We are going to go straight into the game after a very short break. So make sure you don't go anywhere, guys. Stay tuned, get some snacks, get some drinks. We'll be back for Game 2 very soon.
Welcome to Honor of Kings Invitational 2024 Season 2.
I think that the Vitality match is going to be the toughest because they are probably the strongest team on the group, but today we are going to see some targeted strategies focusing on them.
Vu qu'on a vu VKS jouer au tournament à la S1, on peut regarder leur gameplay et établir une stratégie.
Eu acho que o melhor jogador da Vitality é o Shanks, porque, bom, ele é o principal carry do time, ele basicamente escolhe a lane que vai jogar, o pick que quer jogar. Então acredito que ele seja o melhor jogador, mas a gente vai ter uma boa resposta contra ele e acredito que ele não vai ter bom desempenho contra o nosso time.
我感觉 VKS 只是单你一个人拿野盒来 C， 只要把他野盒打烂，他们就没什么用了。我感觉赢他们挺简单的。
A importância de ficar em primeiro é mais dar esse medo para os outros times nos playoffs. E a gente quer sim ser campeão para defender o nosso título. A gente foi campeão do primeiro, então a gente está aí para defender.
Aqui contra Dani. Dani, je t'attends.
Acho que a equipe que poderia ser mais difícil de enfrentar seria a G, pelo fato de eles serem de Hong Kong, talvez, e eles consigam jogar no servidor chinês. Eles também já têm jogadores que são bastante experientes. Acho que seria a equipe mais forte assim se enfrentar do grupo.
他们的能力我们非常认可，很厉害，但是我们不畏惧挑战。
以现在的阶段，其实我们没有十足的把握说去战胜他们，但是我觉得大家都是职业选手，就是不要那个眼光那么短浅吧，就是单单一个 S2就在沾沾自喜，到时候我们 EW 是一点。
我们在山巅等着他们所有人的挑战。
Disappoint sa nangyari kasi yung last time mananalo kami sa BKS. Expected namin magta-top 1 kami sa group pero
For the last game, we will give our best to game our last game. 从小组抽签到比赛也有一段时间，然后我们也不断的努力去做调整，然后进步，但是还是没打过，然后输比赛。电子竞技不就是这么残忍？
Maybe we can find inspiration from other stories. Hey, that might work. Got it. What's more fun? How about this? Like the thrust of a spear in battle. No one can tell my story but me!
I'm born to stay, ayy. It's my chest and my bonus play. Can't be late, won't hesitate. What do you say? Grace to find my face, scars to find my skin. I can't convince them to please, I'm illicit. I'm the one that you hate. They should be on it. Doing it for real, I found my goal. From the ashes, I go again. Blow with a rumble, make them crumble, make them run. Baby, it's go time. Knocking me down, how I rise. An inspiration, I know how. The one who go further, my no lie, we gon' do it. Face not face, we don't think we just move it. No, we the best, so we don't gotta prove it. Somebody test me, I swear I'm gon' lose it. I got a check, these on this boom and illuminate. Another day, another way. You got the power to turn around. You got a champion, calling out for the game. There's no won't you yell out my name when I sing a song for
This is my story. A story of honor. A story of bravery. A story of heroes.
Break it down.
You want to be strong? Learn from the pro now. When you're attacking a tower, you might accidentally target an enemy. Or when attempting a tower dive, you end up targeting the tower and minions instead. Professional players execute such impressive moves effortlessly. While you may feel overwhelmed and get killed by the tower, your control settings might be holding you back. Change the recommended basic controls to advanced. This activates extra basic attack buttons for minions and towers. Turn on show enemy avatars to accurately select the enemy's avatar for the kill, and better assess vision exposure. Give it a try and play as smoothly as a pro, easily crushing the enemy faction. Learn from the pro. Learn more from Honor of Kings Global Esports.
Right now, Danny going in the mid. Well, opened by Bang. Bang doing the open. Time damage from Danny as well. Taking up the win sheet as well. Niap is looking.
Day number 3 on Invitational 2024 Season 2.
I think that the
Welcome back, everybody, to the Season 2 Invitational Honor of Kings tournament. Today, it's still me. I am still here, and still with me is Hauler. How are we feeling after match 1, shall I say?
Well, actually, I was kind of disappointed. I thought the first series was going to go the distance in terms of that third game. I did not expect Vivo Keat Stars to just close it out like they did. It was just so well. It was clean, right? And it's like a chef's kiss, right? It was like one of those moments where, like, okay, you couldn't have done any better for them. And I'm super happy and to see what they can do even moving forward. But again, let's go to the second matchup of the day. It's going to be the second place Brazilian team. It's going to be Loops versus All Gamers Global. Blam, your thoughts on that one?
Quick to hold the phone, but first a shout out to EWC for being one of our sponsors for the Season 2 Invitational. Obviously, we now have our top 8 teams that are going to go through to the EWC next month. So again, we are going to be seeing these top 8 teams play once again, play against each other again, to be going for something even more prestigious than the Season 2 Invitational Champion title. It's going to be huge. Thanks to EWC for sponsoring the event once again. And then obviously,
and speaking
with
of holding the phone, though, I think that let's talk a little bit about the phone that's being played. Of course, the Infinix GT20 Pro is among the first smartphones to support Honor of Kings in 120 FPS. Experience playing like the pros today with the Infinix GT20 Pro. That's going to be an amazing one. But that said, let's go back to my original question. We have Loops versus All Gamers Global. Your thoughts on this first matchup?
Like I said, with All Gamers Global in the Open Series Split 1 EMEA Finals, they were pretty much a blemish-free trial. Like, there was no match that they could not win. And for them to lose against RA Esports, which again, they weren't part of the Open Series Split 1 Invitational because they didn't quite Split 1 Series, sorry, because they weren't able to get to the basic EMEA finals. We never saw that go through. They did play their MENA counterpart, which again, they lost, but for them to lose on the Season 2 Invitational stage makes me feel a little bit shaky. Is it the nerves, even though they've played in front of a live audience? Well, not a live audience, but a smaller live audience in the Open Series Split 1? Or have they just kind of lost their way, especially with them being quite a new team? But their opponents that they are going to be fighting are Loops Esports, who are comprised of Tempest, ABH, Kanka, Zia, and Mithy. So some of these were on the previous roster of VKS, and they are a very, very promising roster within the Brazilian scene. Like Horler was saying before, when match 1 ended, these are the 2nd seed, and these are their opponents today.
Yeah, and it's going to be all gamers global. This is going to start off. It's going to be Snow, Myosotos, Lived, Zeiss, and Qinglin. And it's going to be, this is a team that's, from Hong Kong. They're quite strong and formidable in their own right. And playing up against the number 2 squad from Brazil, this is going to be an interesting one. Where do All Gamers Global kind of sit among the standings across all of the international teams? We're going to have to find out. I expect big things out of All Gamers Global. And you talked about the fact that, hey, we haven't actually seen these guys since day one. Have they been kind of enjoying their time in KL, kind of basking it in? Or have they been doing their research, making sure that they've been practicing, ensuring that they have a great knockout stage? But I'm getting ahead of myself as we're still in the final game of the group stages for All Gamers Global and Groups.
Yeah, like I was saying in the introduction, one thing I remember very fondly from the Open Series Split 1 finals is that this team was saying that, I can't remember who it was, it may have been Myosotis that was saying it in an interview, but they were saying that the team argue very little, but when they did argue in the Open Series Split 1, it was good to air it out. So they kind of try and find the vocal voice within their team. And that really showed in the Open Series Split 1, but hasn't really showed in Season 2 Invitational. So whether that was a reoccurring issue for them in Season 2, especially with it being day one pre-game jitters can get the best of some of the greatest players. So I expect a lot from All Gamers Global going into day 4 after witnessing a lot what's ahead of them as well. But now we are getting into the picks and bans of this first game. What are we feeling here, Horler? Did you watch day 1 game with AG Global? Did we see what they picked? What are you feeling? What's your initial thoughts on this game?
Before we go into the draft, I kind of want to talk about the fact that you were talking about the arguments thing. I think that is a very interesting point. Obviously, teams, when they get to the next level, they have to kind of have faced somewhat of the adversity that they went on. We've kind of resolved it. It's kind of like one of those, dare I say, happy marriages, right? Sometimes everything could be rainbows and unicorns and it could be all great, but at the end of the day, if you've had a little bit of trials and tribulations, the relationship in the end has grown to a point where it's much more rewarding, I would say. So in the same limelight, I would think that these teams have kind of gone through that, right? They've lost some games and they've gotten much better because of it, because they faced that adversity. But as I say this, let's go into the draft here. It's going to be the Arlie first pick. I like this for Loops. I think it's a great first pick, especially as Zir is able to kind of just style on people. I think there's a lot of potential with this hero.
Yeah, the potential just furthers there. The fact that they've locked in the Jung Fei for Mithy. Mithy on this pick is huge. And speaking of huge, we see ABH once again picking up that Jing. Jing seems to be another flashy Brazilian pick that they love to pick within these competitive tournaments. But like you were saying, the Arlie is just going to get enhanced now, and we've already seen Zier on the Arlie, and it was fantastic. But then if we look over to the side of All Gamers Global, they are going for a little bit of a female empowerment team so far. We have the Hugh Huan in the jungle potentially. We have Dolia as well, so giving over 2 of Hugh Huan's amazing, huge ultimates that she can have within those team fights, not only healing, but knocking up and becoming untargetable. And then you have the Mayeen in the Clash lane, and Snow is no stranger on the Mayeen.
Yeah, we've seen the rise of Dahlia. Like, it's been very, very popular. We've seen it almost in a good number of games in the past 2 days, but it only still has a 40% win rate. The Mayeen, on the other hand, the number 4 most picked in the league thus far, it has a 53% win rate. I think that we're going to see some much high-level play, I would say, from All Gamers Global in terms of Milestosis, Snow picking up the Mayeen here, making plays across the map. I think it'll be very interesting.
Yes, and they're looking on their second ban phase to ban out some of the familiar Clash lanes on the side of Loops Esports. So the Dharma and the Elaine both hitting the ban hammer. However, onto the side of Loop Esports, we are looking at a bit of a shot, a little bit of a pew-pew at the farm lane heroes getting taken down there. So, okay, a little bit of an off-sketch one there. The Athena, they think or thought that the distractive methods of Athena was going to come through in game 1 for All Gamers Global, but they ban it out just in case they are sure that it stays undestructive against Loop Esports. But the DRNG as well gets banned out, which is again another huge farm lane pick within the Season 2 Invitational. Princess Frost getting locked in, still following that female suit. It's looking for like a very not conventional team comp, because we don't really have the tank in there with it. The Mayeen obviously being used as can be used as a human ward, gaining that intelligence for her teammates. But then you got the likes of the Hu Huan and also the Princess Frost to kind of deny these team fights, to separate them, having that huge area effects on both of their ultimates.
Yeah, and Yuan was actually played yesterday in the Group D final, Impunity versus RRQ. Impunity were able to take a somewhat unconventional draft. It was very squishy. They actually had the Yuan on the farm laner. We'll still see if that's going to be played here with this game by All Gamers Global, but it is definitely an option for them. But it looks like Loops have kind of picked the Gan and Mo in this Hansu here.
Oh, Gan and Mo, a Brazilian favorite in the mid lane. And then Sunsea is a Brazilian favorite in the Clash lane. They love that pick. But like I was saying with Kin the other day, Sunsea within the Brazilian scene seems to have a high win rate when it's in the support lane. So it can go either way within the Clash, but with Sunsea being paired with the Jing, again, an assassin with a tank in the Clash is the more sought for kind of team comp that you want. Whereas onto the side of AG Global, they have the Brawler that's Mayeen, and then they have the Hu Huan that's in the jungle. So again, quite a delicate flower, but can bring some pain. The overall team comp on the side of All Gamers is fleshed out with Hou-Yi.
Yeah, Hou-Yi, I mean, the one thing I don't like about this draft is the fact that they were going with an all-female lineup and they throw in Hou-Yi in the very, very end. But
it's got long hair.
Yeah, it's got long hair. Yeah. So I guess that matters. Nonetheless, we're going to go into this draft. Okay, going into this one, like into this draft, like which of these lineups is easier to play for you?
I mean, we've got the game-winning formula down in the farm lane that we've just saw from VKS. So they got the Hou-Yi, they got the Dahlia. So we could be seeing a potential influence here from AG Global from the Brazilian counterparts in the farm lane. And obviously, Zaze is a fantastic farm lane player from what I remember of the Open Series Split 1. But like you say, which one's easier to play? I'd say the most conventional team comp here is definitely Loop Esports, because they have the great front line. They have the Arlie, which on Zier is able to get in, out, and have those fantastic high-risk, high-reward plays. But then you got the Genmo, which sits a little weirdly within that team comp, because he is going to be sat far away, using that couple's blades long and short to try and get that optimal damage onto the enemy heroes on the side of AG Global. But here we are, game 1 on the gorge between Loop Esports and All Gamers Global. Let's see how this starts to flesh out, Hauler.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game, I think. I do like Loop's draft. I think they have a lot of outplay potential. The fact that they can kind of jump on you at any moments with the Sunsa's his set sail, the boat that just kind of crashes in whenever he flees. I think they have a lot of potential for outplay, right? That said, All Gamers Global, if their positioning is flawless, they're spread out when they need to, finding the right targets and prioritizing, they'll have a good game. So it's really going to come down to how does Loops find those engagements, when do they take them in, and are they able to find the right pickoffs? Because again, All Gamers Global, very, very squishy.
Yes, a very aggressive early game lead here from ABH, taking down Myosotis for the first blood. Nobody on his team was there to help him. There was like, yo, bro, you're kind of on your own with this one. We're kind of tied in the farm lane. So Loops put in some amazing aggression already in the early game, Hauler. This is probably the answer to the question you just asked.
Yeah, that was kind of like, I had like flashbacks to my rankings where like nobody helped me out. And I was like, buddy, hey guys, and I'm like, I'm Myosotis just getting run at. And unfortunately, I would have gotten killed the same way, but not great for All Gamers Global. Hopefully they can turn this one around because, you know, that's one of those things where when you call for support, you got to be there.
Yeah, I just had a vivid imagery of you just smashing the hell out of the come here button, the group, and then be like, first blood. It's like, oh, I told you should have grouped with me. Should have let me
like
die.
You see me play live.
Yeah. Little do you know. But yeah, again, that is a great start for Loops and really showing the cracks in All Gamers Global's team comp here. It's not an early game team comp by any means, because the Ho Yi needs those items to activate. You need those basic attack orientated enhanced items, whereas the side of Loop Esports, we just saw that the Jing can do so much damage in the early game. It's same with the Sun C up into the Clash lane. He doesn't really need as many items to be tanky from the word go. He has a lot of base HP.
Yeah, ABH getting that kill, of course, and he's got the level advantage. I mean, he's contesting it again. So this is going to be a very difficult situation. Here comes the set sail from the backside.
Set sail straight into the back of the team there, which was beautifully played by Tempest, but I feel like Zaze there was trying to predict the Jing going in very aggressive again, which I feel was a really good play. It had great intentions, but Loops Esports, clearly the Nostradamus of Honor of Kings, just seeing one step ahead, baby. They're like, no, we saw that play coming. We've tried that play quite a few times.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of, you have a feeling it's going to happen again. But again, All Gamers Global will able to kind of bounce back. Again, they need to defend that jungle. That's going to be super important coming into the mid game. I mean, it's only about 3 minutes and 45 seconds, so there's still plenty of time to happen. But, you know, again, Loops, if ABH starts to get this ball rolling, and I mean, he already has an advantage with the levels and gold, he's going to have a much more difficult game for All Gamers Global.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here that we're seeing right now is that All Gamers Global are doing exactly the same thing that VKS were doing when they had the Ho Yi pick, is focus that Tyrant, because again, additional damage, Chain Lightning could be crucial for them. There we go, they get it, but that is a fantastic engage from Sun C, taking down Qing Ling in the team fight. That is a 1-1 trade. Tempest does fall, but so does the Dolia. Overall, I feel like that trade, I don't know how you feel, Hauler, was definitely in the favor of AG Global, depending on what happens here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll take that any day of the week. I mean, it sucks, unfortunately, for the Rome players to be like, hey, you're expendable, but in a way you are, especially if you can get a trade, you'll take that one, whatever at this point to get yourself back in it. But again, they're still a little bit behind, and this is where things are a little bit difficult, because Loops are invading the enemy jungle. They're putting pressure on you, and you're not getting as much farm as you really want. And Myosotis is falling a little bit behind. He's going to struggle. And so now ABH even able to take some of the mid lane here, and they're trying to prioritize him on this Jing to make sure that he can kind of carry this game throughout.
Yeah, we just saw one of the core items being built on Jing there, so the Axe of Torment come through, so armor penetration for those squishier heroes on the side of AG Global is going to be troublesome going into the next few team fights. Mithy was just there to get a little bit of insight there, potentially baiting the Dolia, but Gan and Mo getting the kill onto Lived in the mid lane, and it doesn't look like they're done just yet. There is a little bit of hesitance. Sun C with a preemptive boat. Is that going to land?
Yeah, he Tempest coming in, using the boat like I use my boats, and I just crash randomly. Not able to control it. But nonetheless, they were able to kind of turn this one into a kill, as well as kind of pushing in that bottom T1, already taken out. And again, if Sherry is able to get as much free farm like this, you know, this is going to be a way more difficult game for All Gamers Global. You do want to stop the Arlie, but the potential outplay is just massive on this hero. It's something that you don't want to see a lot of farm on.
No, yeah, the Arlie, you do not want her to run away with all those resources and plenty of the Mythy. We're trying to give a little bit of intelligence to his team, dashing out of there so he doesn't get caught out in that 4v1 because it was looking brutal. Is Jing going to get hit by that Blazing Sun Harrow? No, it misses. ABH lives to see another day because if that was set up correctly, we had Snow literally on her tail that would have been the punishment for the side of Loops Esports.
Yeah, All Gamers Global, they actually made a 4-man rotation expecting that arrow to hit. Unfortunately, sometimes you miss some shots, and he did miss that one. But now a little bit of pressure in the bottom lane. They're going to be pushed and thwarted back. But Kingland all the way kind of up in front. Oh, he does survive.
Yeah, that slippery snake Dolia. I mean, a mermaid nonetheless, but stun going on to Mythy. Not the hero you want to be stunning, especially the fact that they still got his unbridled rage as well, which would just boost up his health. It would then push away the enemy team, enabling him to try and escape and just wait for his team to collapse onto AG Global. But as we've seen so far, Hauler, what do we expect going forward in this game? Is it a Loops all the way punishment, just a slow burning one, or are we going to see AG Global activate at some point?
I mean, we saw it even with the last game with Vivo Keat Stars, is that they're very disciplined and understand the limits and the spacing, right? Where the lanes are, how they're pushing in. And they've been very almost controlling the tempo of the game, where AD have to react, right? Right now, they're kind of like, oh, okay, maybe we kind of pick off elsewhere. And they have not really been able to capitalize on any sort of kills right now. And again, they're just like fishing for information. They're really behind and they're kind of struggling. It's getting to the point where they're slowly getting choked out by Loops.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be funneling them in many other aspects. They do steal the blue buff on the side of AG Global, but okay, AG Global getting the kill on Tuesday there. We saw an overextended Arlie and a huge mirror dimension from the Jing there. It's coming through, but it wasn't actually going to pause or play anything into it. They are opening up the mid lane. Oh, Hauler, the AG Globals are needing to do something, and that was looking like the right thing, I feel.
Definitely the right thing. I mean, I don't see how they got the kill or the pickoff onto Sherry there, but they capitalized on that. They actually pushed them away. They got the mid T1 as well as the Tyrant. So you've taken objectives. That's great. But the funny thing is actually they're still behind in terms of the net worth. Getting that mid T1 obviously will open a lot of doors in terms of avenues of attack. So you have a lot more angles to go in, which is going to be great for them. And they need to find them. They're still on the defensive side. They're still behind. They need to figure out some sort of other ways to get some sort of pick-off to, again, get themselves back in this game.
I've just got to mention there, look how beautiful and fluid that gameplay looks on the GT20 Pro. It looks superb. It looks even better than like my gaming phone, and that's probably like 10 times the cost. But anyway, it's definitely seeming to be serving a lot of good for these players on both of these teams. But I feel the short falling on the side of All Gamers Global right now is that farm lane being pushed all the way to the higher ground turret. They've got to put some pressure now on the side of Loop Esports just to kind of bring that lane back for themselves. And I think this is what Snow is doing here, looking to just punish them whilst they're absent from the lane. But Mythy and Zira just here before it even happens. They're preempted it. They know that that was going to be their focus, but also another focus for All Gamers Global is going to be that another Tyrant, the Shadow Tyrant. But is Mythy going to be able to steal it? He is already there. He's waiting within the grasp. Oh, AG Global steal it with the Winters coming, but that is not all. It's a 1-1 trade so far between the two teams. Zero going in with a double kill as well. That is a 5-2 trade for Loop Esports. Zira getting a triple kill on the Ollie. Oh my gosh, Ola, what was that?
Okay, AG were able to take the Tyrant. That was a win, but then they continued to fight and they got punished hard. I mean, losing all 5 members is absolutely massive, especially at the 10-minute mark. That's going to open up some doors. And now look it, they're knocking on the door of the T3. They've taken that one out. They're going to get out. Nice regrouping here. And they're going to take the enemy jungle as well on their way out. And this is going to look to hopefully turn into an overlord for them. But again, this is just a huge opening, massive swing, 5K in favor of Loops at this point.
Yeah, such huge pressure for just one team fight. And for those watching at home, that is the recipe of a potential victory here for Loop Esports in Game 1. It's just, if the pressure is on, you get as much reward as you can. Because as we saw in the draft, we knew that AG Global's team comp was not going to be the one that's going to be able to sustain a team fight, especially when they have the likes of Zhang Fei and Sun Si both on the side of Loop Esports. 2 fantastic front lines. Zhang Fei being able to soak a lot of damage, and then Sun Si being able to disengage, re-engage back on his boat, and get multiple knockups. But the real hero of that whole interaction was Zia with that triple kill. That was just beautifully handled by the Ali.
Yeah, very well played there. I mean, it's one of those things where, and again, this is probably a bad analogy and a bad influence to them, but if we're talking about Halloween, I don't know if you have Halloween there, but basically, like, sometimes the owners of the houses will just have their candy left out, and they'll have a sign that says, just take one, right? But it's one of those things where, hey, the opportunity is there, maybe I take more than one. Loops, in this case, had that opportunity. They took more than one piece of candy, and they came out the victors. And there's a reason why this network lead is kind of growing quite a lot, but ABH now on the run.
Yes, ABH on the run, being able to escape with little help, but there is no other consequence for him because there's no way that they can catch him up. There is no real front line there to be had on the side of All Gamers Global. Sun Si looking to take a few bits of the enemy jungle, taking the red buff as well away from Myosotis. With him being more of a magical hero, magic damage orientated, means that that red buff isn't probably his priority. However, it could have been huge on the Ho Yi. More damage means more success within these team fights. But yeah, back to your Halloween analogy, I think Zia was face first in that bucket.
He was just eating it there, not even trying to hide it and taking it back home with him. Okay, all right. You know, that's one way to go. All right, but Loops here continuing to push, putting on pressure. The top lane, Zai's just trying to do what he can. He's trying to get back into this. He's down 1.7k from, you know, him and Sherry, that is. There's a pretty big gap in that role right now. And right now, all they need to do, AG, need to slow the game down. They need to figure out ways to extend it to give themselves a much better chance in this game.
Yeah, if there's one thing that Loops has already proven to us with their past 2 games, is that the late game is no struggle for them, it seems. Like we saw between R8 and the other team that they played as well. They just did not struggle. They was just like, yeah, no, bring the late game to us. We will definitely meet you there and meet you with vengeance. But even if they do seem to slow down the game on the side of All Gamers Global, they've still got plenty of turrets to be taken. T1 both in the side lanes, T2 in the mid lane. It's not like it's going to be an all doors open access if they do win the next team fight.
Yeah, okay. But you're talking about the late game and maybe getting to that point, but which of these squads do you give the edge to in terms of the draft? Who has a better late game?
I mean, for a complete raw damage output, I mean, you've got the Ho Yi, you've got Mei Yin doesn't do as much damage, but she's able to sort of try and split the team fight if she's not being punished by the Zhang Fei or the Sun Si. So Mei Yin's function in that whole late game team fight is to try and take out the Ganon Mo or the Ali, but we've already seen that Ali and Jing are 2 slippery heroes to get a hold of. So I feel like the Mei Yin's a little bit of a non-starter. We did see that Elaine got banned, so Snow is already a big Elaine advocate as well. So within the Open Series Split 1, he played that hero to perfection. But I feel like I don't know if it was AG that banned them or Loops that banned them, but I feel like that ban was definitely orientated towards Snow.
Okay, makes a lot of sense here, but it looks like, you know, Loops, even with this lead, are playing somewhat, like, scared. They're not like the Vivo Kid Stars where they're kind of putting so much pressure where, you know, AG were not, you know, or sorry, you know, what was it, Team Vitality were not able to kind of come back into this one. But AG has space. They can go move around the map. They can kind of push it along. Obviously, there's no jungle camps to take over right now, but it seems like they have a lot more space to play with.
Yeah, I feel like if they navigate the team fights better, like I was saying, picking off those damage dealers, like the Ali, like the Ganmo, like the Jing, and then all they've got to really deal with is the Sun Ce. So if they don't take too much casualties in the first part of the team fight, then you're right. They probably could take the next team fight. The Burning Arrow comes through, lands onto the Zhang Fei. Winter is coming, comes through to the Ganemo. Ganemo looking pretty low. The Couple's Blade comes through, but no, Myosotis is able to pick up Ganemo. Pushing away is Zhang Fei. They need to breathe. Get some breathing space on the side of Loop Esports, and Zhang Fei is the hero to create that.
Okay, so they got the pick off. That's a nice one. But again, with this opening in the top lane, I mean, just kind of crashing in, AG have to kind of deal with this. They can't actually proceed further. And take advantage of the fact that Kank is down for another 20 seconds. So this is a bit of a window for them. They need to kind of push ahead. But, you know, what is unfortunate, though, is that the Tyrant is another 45 seconds. That's a pretty long time. But as I say this, ooh, the King Ling taking a lot of damage.
Ooh, I'm going to say those mirror blades were definitely honing onto the Dolia there. Luckily, she's able to recall, but give herself some health in the meantime just to preempt any gank from the side of Loop Esports. But I feel like that was well played. That's something that AG Global just need to do going into Game 2. If they don't, however, for some reason manage to close this Game 1 for themselves, is just focus on that point. Make sure they have a team comp that allows them to get to the backline efficiently so they can take out these high damage heroes like the Ali, like the Gammo. The Blazing Sun Harrow was completely mitigated there thanks to the maple dance of the Ali.
Oh, from the backside. Oh, they found Zaiz. They picked him off, and they're going to continue on, and that just might have ended it with right there with Loops taking the ambush. They're going for King Lin, but Kank is actually down. He's been sniped down. Myosotis gets a little bit low, and it looks like just Kank. It's going to be a 2-for-1 trade.
That sustain from Myosotis was crazy. Like, she was taking hits left, right, and center, and then all of a sudden she was like, oh, up into the air, gets that sustain, gets that heal, and then Dolly is like, bro, don't worry about it, we'll heal you. But this is the important part here for Loops. They do have the empowered minion. Sunsea's coming around with the second wave as well, trying to crash into the backside of the Mayeen to keep her away from those squishier heroes, but Myosotis is up in the air, untargetable so far. They are still trying to catch out a member of All Gamers Global, and All Gamers Global, if anything, played that almost crucial game-ending play to perfection.
Yeah, Loops right there trying to make a play, but it was very ambitious, right? Getting into that one, especially with them respawning, the fountain, I mean, the respawn timers were very close for Zayas. He was going to be back, and you don't want to take any sort of fight where he's there and just kind of picking people off. So Loops not able to really capitalize on that small advantage they got, and this net worth lead is starting to dwindle. It looks like they're going to take a free Tyrant here. They'll take this one off. Milestosis will ensure he gets this, and they're going to continue with the Unbridled Outburst.
Great damage coming through for the Ho Yi, but Snow is down. Sun-Ce has just met his maker, thanks to Ho Yi having that Shadow Tyrant damage buff as well. Myosotis and Qingling are into the front line. Mithy taking so much damage from Zaze. That is such crazy damage coming through the Ho Yi. Ali was able to taunt him a little bit there, being able to recall with the life step. But they have to watch out, and we are seeing that Lived is able to predict that minion wave coming into the top lane. And like you were saying earlier, Hola, that top lane is going to be their weak point in this. That is where they need to give a lot of attention to, not only these team fights, but that top lane.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough one. But, I mean, Snow going down for the second time, still has a, the highest in this game. Second highest, only to the Sherry, the Arlie, right? With 14.2 versus the 13.1. Nonetheless, Snow has done a great job of just kind of isolating heroes, ensuring that they get that pick off. Tempest going down, King going down, both of them, that was kind of a bit of a rough situation. I think King needs to play a little bit more carefully, because he keeps getting picked off early, and they lose a lot of damage going into these team fights.
Yeah, Ganamo is not the hero you want to be losing earlier on, because, again, that Couple's Blade has multiple functions. If we see that Miffy cannot get into the Tempest Dragon camp, we could have Ganamo just sit in a brush somewhere and use the Lung Couple's Blade to try and deny or even crucial kill theft onto something so crucial like the Tempest Dragon right now, because I feel if either of these teams get the Tempest, it's a little bit of a game over, or just sort of trying to mitigate anything wrong there. But there they are. They're in the pit. Are they able to get it? Oh, who gets it? Who gets it? They do. ABH gets it. And Zeri is at the back of the team fight, getting another triple kill. He is popping off on the Ollie pick in game one against AG Global, looking to push these lanes, both in the farm, both in the mid lane, to finish game one, while Sun-Ce and Mayeen are just having a little bit of a dance in the mid lane. But it is going to be game over, Hauler, unfortunately. Loops get in game one from All Gamers Global.
I mean, Jerry just dove on them. It was 1 versus 3, but he was able to just outmaneuver them, just walk around, doing so much damage. I mean, he had the most net worth. He had all of the farm that you needed. He was pretty much ready to go, and he just picked them all off. And again, if you could take on 1 versus 3 and come out the victors, the rest of the team can just kind of clean up, make sure that you have the initiative for the push that you need. And again, Luke just knew how to close that game out at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we speak about closing the game out, but I feel like that's the weakest part of Loop Esports, is the game closing. They always seem to struggle, and I'm pretty sure with all of the games that Tempest Dragon has come out, I think at least 75% of them have been Loop's Esports games, which is a little bit worrying when you think of the 7 minutes and 39 seconds finisher of LGD Gaming or Team Secret being so aggressive. I think that's where they need to focus, is their late game, because early game they got first blood onto the enemy jungle, Myosotis, but at the same time that late game was looking a bit that could have gone either way, I think, Hauler.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where, we got to make a couple better moves, I think. I think that there was a lot of space that they were conceding to the enemy unnecessarily. They could have pushed it out, maybe gotten some more pickoffs in that way. But again, Loops, we're in control. They probably could have done a little bit more cleaner in the sense of maybe ending the game much sooner. But unfortunately, this is one of those things where you kind of you want to play it safe. You want to make sure that you get that game won. If you take a little bit less risk, you probably eventually win, assuming that you stick to your guns in terms of strategy, in terms of farming elsewhere. I think you'll be all right. So it's going to be interesting seeing how they play out into game 2. But let's go into the post game here.
Yeah, the Hugh Huan was definitely a much better late game hero than that early game. I mean, anything's better than being picked off by Jing in the first 4 minutes, right? But we saw a little bit more utility from the Hugh Huan, I believe, Hauler. Is there anything that you feel that AG Global's team comp was not really feeling, or what they lacked, for a much better word, basically lacking in their team comp?
No, I mean, they did what they could with the amount of pressure or the space that was given to them. I think Zaiz and, of course, Snow getting as much farm as they possible, but they weren't really able to kind of find the right pickoffs. They were very timid, and every time they saw one person, they would never proceed with the fight. They were expecting, Loops to be waiting in the wings and all 5 members just kind of ambushing them. So they played it super safe. I think all gamers global need to play a little bit more aggressively. Maybe you get that pick off, because again, Loops isn't everywhere.
No. Loops isn't everywhere, but Mithy on that Zhang Fei. Well, like I was saying, in the draft, that Mithy on the Zhang Fei is going to be a scary one. And just look at that damage taken. He takes over 100k damage and doesn't lose a life. If that's not something ban-worthy or you picking up early in the draft on the side of All Gamers Global, I don't know what should be considered as ban-worthy, but I know for a fact that Ali has been taken off the cards very early in Game 2 ban, because 123k damage, close to Jing's 113k damage. Hauler, they're just damage central, right?
Yeah, damage central. But I mean, okay, look, if we're talking about All Gamers Global, they have the Dahlia, right? You have the Celestial Melody. A lot of them are, skill cooldown dependent, right? And being able to kind of reset that with the Celestial Melody is definitely other play style. I mean, if we're looking at the damage taken, she took quite a lot, the King Lin that is. So it definitely had a lot of opportunities to kind of play to the draft's strengths. Understand that Zhang Fei is, of course, very strong, very tanky, and somebody very annoying to deal with, but it's one of those things where it fit the draft a little bit better. I don't blame all gamers global for this, but I do feel like Loops just played it really well. And again, you're seeing the gold graph, and how they were in the lead. Yeah, there was a little bit of a dip, but they ended up closing the game out in the end.
Yeah, it definitely paints a pretty picture. There's 2 points within that game. You can see the lead disappear before Loop Esports' eyes, but what was not disappearing is the MVP, Azir on the Ali, 7-1-4. Only being able to shut down this bunny for one time in the match is definitely something you want to either be banning or making a point of it in Game 2. You cannot let this pick come through and Zia bully you once again.
Yeah, Zir just playing the hero to the limits, right? The fact that you're 7-1-4, but he died early once in the mid lane, I believe, in one of the rotations, and we'll see that in the highlights. But I was kind of like, oh man, that's going to put her back so far. He's going to have a hard time dealing with this. But it kind of started with, even from this initial first blood, ABH being able to kind of get that kill onto Milesatosis, as well as stealing the Azure Golem. I mean, that just kind of opened things up. It's a much it's an easier game if you have a good early game, and they were able to do that.
Yeah, I think the one thing that All Gamers Global did was underestimate Loop Esports. I feel like they believe that because they're just from a different scene, they're not going to be as aggressive because of what they've witnessed in the Open Series Split 1, that we weren't really an aggressive region at all. They was just like, oh, okay, we can kind of just play this at our own pace. We can turn the heat on whenever we want to. But like you said there, Hall, at ABH was like, we press the red button and we get the aggression and we decide where your tempo goes. And I think it was beautifully executedly played. But like I said, just after the game finished, I feel like the late game is just where they need to just improve ever so slightly.
Yeah. And I think it kind of starts off with Kank working on the positioning a little bit more. The fact that he died and they had to take fights 4 versus 5 put them in a rough spot. But here's the Zir part where he's on the back line. Look at him in the top lane, kills Zaiz, Kingland, and he's just tearing them up, and he's out healing everybody. Just the amount of damage he had. Zir was just on point. Definitely somebody you need to watch out for. This Arlie is very scary when she's farmed. And that late game and just kind of dancing in and out, you got really no chance. So you need to ensure that you have the lockdown or your 4 other friends with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like the Angela may have sat into that team comp just a little bit better because of obviously CC immunity and obviously the amount of CC that she can do and the slow that she can apply with her skills. But we have to give a shout out to the HOK creation. Apply to become an official Honor of Kings creator and post about Season 2 for a chance to get a reward. Search HOK Studio to the link your account and find out more information. So if you want us to, if you want Honor of Kings to support you, just make content. It's that simple. Make content, they support you. Support HOK, they'll support you more. So again, it's a love relationship between Honor of Kings. If you're a content creator, more specifically a mobile content creator, now's the time to move over and find your new game to play. Just search HOK Studio in Google or anywhere.
And also, a content creator happens to be right next to me. Blam, where can they find you on social media? Ensure that they do support you as you're a content creator for HOK. Is it Blam MOBA?
No, it's Kindofu.
No. Don't give it any props.
No, yeah, it's Blam MOBA. It's Blam MOBA. But thank you.
Okay, awesome. And we're going to go into this one. It's going to be game 2. It looks like AG have kind of taken a little bit of a break. The coach is kind of like talking to them, just kind of calming them down. I mean, going into this one, obviously they're going to proceed into the knockout stage. It's not the end of the world. It's a good idea to kind of see where we stand against these Brazilian beasts, which are, again, the second best team in Brazil. But we got to play to that international level. We need to play better than we did in game 1.
Yeah, I think the coach cooling them down is probably a really good shout, to be honest, because you don't want to sort of have that the game 1 hype and all those chemicals running through your body that's getting you super hyped that you overestimate your enemy. Because again, I feel like all gamers global has still got something in the bag. Whether it's just because they know they're going into the knockouts, it just means that they are just taking this easy and then they're going to surprise us all, because the way that they played against the Vicious, who was their top opponent, in Open Series Split 1 finals, they just decimated. And the Vicious was no team to sort of frown down upon. They had some great players on there. But getting into the picks and bans of this one, again, we are seeing the Arlie being banned by Loops. What a power play. Just like, yeah, no, we're not letting you have the Arlie. You have first pick. We know exactly what you would go for. But they do lock in the Dolia once again on the side of AG Global. They are wanting this to work, Hauler. What can it be paired with to make it work?
I mean, Dahlia is, again, just very open, right? We saw what we had last time in the last game with a lot of potential with, like, the Yuan, you had the Mayan, you had a lot of, just ways that are just kind of play around that cooldown. But if we're going to go into this one, and again, we don't know if the teams are doing this. We kind of suspected in Team Vitality in match 1, we're kind of trying out new things by picking heroes that were never picked in the tournament thus far. But would you, if you were in their shoes, either of the teams, would you be like, hey, actually, let's try things out and not really worry so much about we have our meta pick, so to speak?
I mean, I feel like I'd want to take every game serious if that was me, because that's just my personality. I probably am a little bit too serious, a little bit too overcritical of myself, but I feel like that would be the way I would want to do it. It's because if you don't do your best now, when will you do your best? If you think you're holding your best in the chamber, and then that best that's loaded in that chamber is not your best, you kind of feel like, oh, maybe we should have had our foot literally on the gas from the word go. But a little bit more of a better team comp coming through here. We have the late game farm lane coming through, so Lady Sun, and then we also have a lane. So like I was saying in game 1 to you, Hauler, Snow likes this lane pickup, and I feel like we could be seeing a brutal attack from the Clash laner himself with this lane pick.
Yeah, and looks like Loops are going to go with the Luna, Zhang Fei, and the Mayin, just kind of a little bit of a aggressiveness, you have a tank of survivability, and you have that control. So it kind of ticks a lot of boxes. I kind of like the way that they've started thus far, but again, it really comes down to this Lady Soon. Is he able to get enough farm to kind of carry the game? Is Zai's gonna have, you know, just the pop off that we expect from the Lady Soon, who's just like this late game monster that just blows you up, right? So you're gonna have a lot of people, or a lot of your teammates to kind of back you up and support you with the Dahlia in a lane. You have control. But I think that they need to add a little bit more of a, you know, a bruiser to kind of provide a little bit more space for this Lady Soon.
Yeah, I think a Doom pick would be amazing going into this one because, again, setting up that team fight for the Lady Sun and then also the lane that's potentially going to be able to have 2 deaths on Sunset. So that's going to be huge for outplay potential, especially dodging the likes of Lady Shen's ultimate. But the Luna is very similar to the Jing, but Luna is very blue buff dependent. So if you can cut that lifeline off of that hero, that's a hard hero to play. She basically becomes a minion at that point. But yes, the Dune comes through and they're going for the Princess Frost. What are we feeling here, Holla?
Just a well-rounded one. I mean, the Dune is just so tanky, right? And then you have just the kind of like the damage dealers, the control. You're gonna get a bunch of damage. I always look at Princess Frost as kind of like a poor man's or poor woman's Lady Jeanne. I think that she has the same sort of skill set, obviously a little bit different. I think Lady Jeanne is just a tier above, but it does have that, you know, that same somewhat similar play style. It kind of rounds out the draft. I think it really comes down to how much Dune can kind of attract attention, be that, you know, that disruptor in the enemy lines, and then if, you know, basically can Lady Soon and the Princess Frost just kind of do damage from afar.
Okay, so we're getting Kin's first love of Honor of Kings, Fang, which we questioned. I heard the commentary, Holla, yesterday. We had to try and make sure that it was right, that it was the first love, not that he likes small furry ladies, but it was to find out that he actually really likes this hero and how it plays. So, again, Fang coming through 2 days in a row. So, he came through yesterday. He's coming through today. Very interesting to see that Fang comes through. And again, I do have to agree with Kin. It is a great hero. I love to play Fang in either the farm lane or the jungle. He's just so he gets around. It's pretty cool.
I also want to clarify, because you know, just to ensure that this doesn't follow me, but Fang, the first love of these small furry creatures is actually by Kindofu and not by myself. So I just want to be very clear going into this second game here.
Just clearing the dirt on your name. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, again, AG Global looking a lot better with this one. I don't know why they didn't go for this in game 1. Maybe they just wanted to put their feelers out to kind of see what Loops was actually going to be down to and what they're actually going to be picking here. So again, I think it is probably a little bit of an R&D. You mean, do you really want to be doing some research and development in a tournament stage that determines if you're top or second seed? That's, again, a question left up to the players. But here we are. We're already seeing a big focus on the side of ABH's blue buff, trying to take it away from the Luna, and they have. Luna's already into the top side of the map, looking to get that red buff, and was already given pressure by the Elaine. I feel like that was a really great distraction play there from Snow.
Yeah, a big, it's a distraction, yes, but it took 4 members of AG Global to kind of ensure that they get that blue buff and you steal it away, which is, I think, pretty smart, especially against ABH on that Luna. Needs to get that one to kind of help them farm and to kind of accelerate. So a big commitment, yes, but I think it might pay off dividends in the long run. So something that they need to keep going. AG have kind of changed this up, but to your point of earlier, of just kind of like, is Loops kind of playing around too much? I'm not entirely sure, but I think that it's good enough where, you know, you want to give yourself a little bit of room for creativity. But Luna here, talk me through a little bit about this, Blam.
Yeah, so Luna's basic combo is obviously a first ult and then second, but like I was saying in the draft, she is very reliant on that blue buff. So if you're watching at home and you think, oh, this is a really cool flashy hero in the jungle, just be careful that your enemy team know what you are drafting and know what to do against you. That's me assuming with my best intentions that your enemy team is better than your team, which is always the intention that you should have going into a ranked match. But yes, Luna, again, another flashy hero, great ultimate, being able to bring the heroes together, managing to do amazing AoE damage and have like loads of dashes as well. It is pretty much the pinnacle of Honor of Kings heroes, is just loads of dashes, super flashy. They take a second blue buff from Luna, starving this hero to the point of that she's going to become unplayable for ABH. We already saw that ABH rocked Rain and thought, oh, where's my blue buff gone? But
yeah, has no blue buff, has to actually recall back for mana, and it's a very painful walk of shame. You know, ABH needs to kind of take what's left, pretty much, basically the leftovers of her own jungle, just kind of pushing that along. But AG coming out with a different strategy, trying to force them out, playing the macro game by invading as much as possible, making things very difficult for ABH on this Luna.
Yeah, they're definitely playing game 2 early game a lot better on the side of AG Global. I mean, the fact that they haven't died first blood yet is a definite progression within this series already. So I feel like we could maybe see a back-to-back here. We could get a 1-1 for AG Global if they keep playing with this level-headed, with the strat that they are going to starve Luna of all those blue buffs. But the later as it gets onto the game, she's going to be able to get a few more blue buffs than she did in the early game, which I feel like will be a little bit more of a detriment for her her improvement into the late game. Because if you kept starving it, I mean, I have no doubt that AG Global could keep starving it for her, but I feel like going into the late game, giving over those blue buffs is just going to be, that's where we see the Luna start to activate, is when she does get that buff that she needs.
Yeah, AG is just trying to force the early game, right? Take advantage of it. It's a much, you're going to have a much easier time playing from ahead as opposed to behind. And again, AG just taking whatever sort of gap that they have, they're turning this into a much bigger lead here. They've just taken the Tyrants. They're looking to invade again. And Tempest now walks into this one and sees, hey, where did our Crimson Golem go? And again, that's been stolen as well.
Yeah, literally not leaving much at all for the side of Luz, but Luz may be getting the first tier turret in the farm lane here, and they claim first turret. They lose the first Tyrant, but able to get some real estate down onto the bot side of the map. But Mayeen is getting picked off on this 3v1. I forgot that Sunset, the death on Sunset came through, and the minions still there. They're not going to be able to claim the turret just yet, or claim Mayeen, but thanks to that, that was a great distraction by the side of Loops, giving ABH the enemy's blue buff.
Yeah, that was a pretty big commitment by AGG, right? In the sense that they tried to go for 3 on the top. Tempest able to flash away, keeps himself alive, and basically keeping that tower alive as well. And that's a huge bit of shift, right? They wasted time, they didn't get the pick off, and now look at the net worth lead. It's completely shifted into Loop's favor.
Yeah, Loop's just playing a little bit more of a better macro play here because they've lost their T2 in farm lane. So I'm not too sure what AG are doing here, whether that was just a whole overall misnavigation of that first part of obviously the Tyrant and making sure they was able to claim the Tyrant, but they haven't really done anything with that Tyrant buff. There's no kills on the board. There was no huge engages to kind of make use of the Tyrant, and now the Overlord just sat there like, oh, does nobody really want to give me love? Does nobody want to take me? On the side of Loops, they don't need it. It could be beneficial for the side of AG Global.
Yeah, and ABH now maybe potentially taking his blue buff, maybe, I think for the first time. Looks like they're going to get on this one. Kinglin might have gotten that. Oh no, I didn't.
No, they was able to get it. He able to secure his pride and joy for the first time in the game. 6 minutes in and claiming your own first blue buff. That is a little bit of a disrespect, a little bit of a violation, we would say in the UK. But again, there's not really much showing here on the side for All Gamers Global just yet. They had a little bit of a steed in the early game. Quingling might be getting picked off here. Yes, first blood going over to Tempest. So Mayeen kicking about the lady, the mermaid of the songs. just making sure work of the Dolia. They'd be like, we'll catch you out. Don't worry. We'll take our sweet time, but we'll get you.
Okay, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I mean, this game was going in. It was 0-0. Nobody had gotten any kills. I thought I was watching a game of soccer. In case you don't know what soccer is, blam, that happens to be football. You're welcome. But nonetheless, they finally got that kill. This is the initial one, and hopefully this is, I mean, this is looking to be a more, like, they're trying to build on this lead. Loops right now have taken this out. They've taken the bottom T2 that you talked about earlier, but now Loops, what else can they do? They're putting pressure on this mid T1 now.
Yeah, this is the thing of the Fang, but think about that in a moment. The Mayin dives a little bit too far into the enemy's back line and dies there. So we see that AG Global are able to pick up a kill onto Tempest. Tempest not being as flashy as he thought he was, especially being halted there by Winter's Coming. We had Done with his Chainblade as well. And yeah, it was just a non-starter for Tempest, unfortunately, into the enemy backline. But like you were saying, it seems like a little bit of a quiet first part of the match. We are going into the 8-minute mark. We're seeing that ABH is building those magic damage items, which Luna is one of the few magic damage heroes in the jungle. But speaking of heroes and being in the jungle, there seems to be a bit of a clash. ABH going for Zaze to make sure he doesn't get any late team fight damage, but we also have Snow to the back of the team fight, but it's a 3v1. Liv just doesn't know how to get in, but still being strangled at the back. There is Myosotis is being able to soak so much damage, but it is going to be a inevitable death for Luna onto the Dune there. So Dune falling down, not soaking as near as much damage as he needed to, and we have Fang pushing that clash lane.
Oh, what a disaster for AG right now. Liv was the only one who literally lived up to his name and lived to see another day. He's going to be back in, just waiting for reinforcements at this point, but just really not a good fight. Zaiz got caught out, was actually trying to rolling raid, I think, away. It looked like he actually went the wrong way with it. Instead of running away, he actually ran into them. So that's a bit of maybe a misclick on that one. But nonetheless, AG right now, just trying to survive, trying to get themselves back in this one, but they're down 5k. This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, no, I'd like to think Zaze was just showing his potential of the indomitable human spirit. He was just like, you know what, I'm committed to this, baby. Take me on. I will get one of you and then realize the shortcomings within his team being behind by 5k gold and being very far behind with these turrets, because what I was trying to talk about before that whole thing popped off